As soon as his voice sounded, everyone turned to look as well. As soon as his voice sounded, everyone turned to look as well. The four of them were stunned for a moment. Seeing Long Fei walk over, they were a little confused, and stood in place, not knowing what to do. He was stunned for half a minute before reacting. "B-boss." Long Fei nodded in satisfaction. Captain Lai looked at Long Fei, his eyes narrowing slightly as he asked, "Your little brother?" The people at the side could immediately see through Long Fei's cultivation, and immediately mocked, "How dare you act tough in front of us with your swordsman rank cultivation? Brat, I'll give you a second. Scram out of our line of sight. Remember, you have to scram." "What's going on? Do you think that the trash of the swordsman rank would dare to come out and act cool?" The swordsman rank was too low. It was even lower than the four of them. Long Fei could not be bothered and said to the four of them, "Let's go." The four of them looked at Long Fei and said, "Oh." Long Fei was about to leave. Captain Lai spoke coldly, and said, "You want to leave? You really don't put me, Hu Liehua, in your eyes, do you?" As soon as he finished, several disciples blocked Long Fei's path. Long Fei stopped and turned around to look at Captain Hua, and said, "Then how can I put you, Hu Liehua, in my eyes?" Hu Liehua said, "Either you become my cannon fodder and enter the fireball cave, or the five of you will crawl under us today." "Ha ha ha. Kid, did you hear me? Get under our crotch. How dare a swordsman level trash meddle in other people's business? Take a piss and look at yourself. Do you really think you can't get points?" A series of taunts. "Boss, why don't you go first?" "Yeah. We'll stay here for now. You can go by yourself. We can't implicate you." Although they had watched Long Fei kill the flame ox with one punch, they had not expected that he would do that. Cultivation was not simple, adding that he had so many people, it was impossible for Long Fei to be his opponent. Although they were afraid of death, they had their own principles. You can't implicate others. The corner of Long Fei's mouth slightly hooked up, and said, "Don't worry. Since I've accepted you guys as my lackeys, as my boss, I should be able to let you guys experience my strength." The four of them were shocked. One of the lackeys said, "You be ****, what were you laughing at just now?" Finished. With one step, he arrived in front of Long Fei. With the Great Sword Sect's primary realm, he released his chi to form a pressure that heavily smashed onto Long Fei. At the same time, he slapped Long Fei's face. Pa! A resounding slap across the face. Long Fei stood in place without moving an inch. The lackey Luo fell to the ground, the 5 finger marks on his face were exceptionally clear, and he immediately fainted. They simply did not see how Long Fei had taken action. Everyone's face changed. "You dog, I think you're looking for death. How dare you attack our members? Kill him." Long Fei hooked his fingers, and said, "Come here, I will let your captain know how I view him." It was filled with mockery. The members were all enraged as they rushed towards Long Fei. All of the disciples moved at the same time, each one of them with a higher cultivation level than Long Fei. The four of them stood at Long Fei's left and right side slightly. It was just that. Long Fei said lightly, "Just watch carefully, you don't need to do anything now." As soon as he finished, Long Fei took a step forward, and the walk like a snake rushed into the crowd. Every time the sound of a slap rang out, a person would fall to the ground. He couldn't react at all, and he couldn't resist it at all. After falling on the ground, he instantly turned into a dead dog. After a few seconds, Long Fei stood in front of Hu Liehua. Behind him were all the members of the Fierce Tiger Guild screaming in pain as they rolled on the ground. Long Fei looked at Hu Liehua, and said indifferently, "Right now, I'm still putting you in my eyes, right?" Hu Liehua swallowed all of his words. His gaze tensed and was somewhat trembling, as he did not dare to look directly into Long Fei's eyes, and said, there is, and I put it in my eyes. Just now, I was blind enough to not recognize Mount Tai. I was wrong. Please forgive me, senior brother." Hu Liehua was very clear that if Long Fei were to raise his hand, he would be slapped to the ground like everyone else. Long Fei could not afford to offend him. Since he couldn't afford to offend her, he had to admit it. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "You admit defeat. Weren't you being arrogant just now? You think I'll let you off just because I'm scared? Either Long Fei didn't make a move, or he wouldn't let you off the hook the moment he made a move. Hu Liehua kneeled on the ground with a thump, and said, "Senior brother, I'm wrong, even my pants are wrong, I'm begging you to forgive me, I won't dare anymore." Long Fei looked at the four of them and said, "Apologize to them." Hu Liehua immediately apologized to the four of them. "I'm sorry, I was wrong, I won't dare to do it again." Long Fei said, "Is that all? Didn't you just tell us to get under your crotch?" Hu Liehua's gaze sank, looked at Long Fei, and said, "Don't you dare go too far." Long Fei laughed, "I like bullying people too much." "How? Are you unhappy?" Hu Liehua said, "We are all outer sect senior brother S. Do you have to do this?" Long Fei said, "You're just kneeling on the ground and say you are a senior brother disciple of the same sect. Why didn't I remember that they were disciples of the same sect when I made them become cannon fodder just now?" Hu Liehua said, "I'm kneeling, so be it. I admit my wrongs, if you still won't forgive me." Long Fei laughed, "What do you want?" Hu Liehua said, "I am Zhongqi's senior brother's cousin, it is not good for you to offend me." The moment he finished, Long Fei slapped him across, and said, "You dare to be so king arrogant with lousy? Pa." Hu Liehua's mouth was bleeding, his eyes staring straight at Long Fei. He said, "Brat, you dare hit me, my cousin will not let you go." Finished. Long Fei slapped him again, "It's useless if your cousin grandfather won't let me off." This slap directly knocked Hu Liehua unconscious. He still couldn't calm himself down and sent him flying a few feet away with a single kick. F***ck, how dare you act so arrogantly in front of Lousy? The four of them were dumbfounded. No matter how arrogant Hu Liehua was, he was not as arrogant as her. So what if it was Team Burning Fire? So what if it was Hu Liehua? So what if he was the second-ranked Zhongqi among the top 10? I need to give them face. The four of them walked in front of Long Fei and said, "Boss, Zhongqi is the second strongest disciple in the outer sect, you've offended him." Who didn't know of Zhongqi's methods in the outer sect? To be able to become the second powerhouse, he had to rely on himself and his fists. He had crushed them all the way. No one who offended him had a good ending. Long Fei rolled his eyes at them and said, "You all must remember, all of you must not be cowardly. Whoever dares to bully you will be beaten to death. If you guys can't even beat me, do you understand? Zhongqi. Only King Zhongkue has come. I'll King beat him to death too." Boss is awesome. Boss is awesome. Boss is mighty. The boss is domineering. Eldest brother's sky-breaking dawn. The four of them said each other, their eyes brimming with respect and respect. They kowtowed to Long Fei, wishing that they could kneel beside Long Fei once again. Men have gold under their knees. However, it wasn't easy for them to meet someone who liked them. So what if they kneeled down once more? After wandering around Fireball Valley for a few days, they were bullied everywhere. Not only was he taunting her, he was even being chased around and beaten up by others. Long Fei had helped them, and in their hearts, it was as if they had found a backer. Long Fei said, "Don't be in such a hurry to call me boss." The four of them were startled, and their eyes tensed up as they looked at Long Fei. Long Fei continued, "Being my little brother is not that easy, and I also won't become your backer. If you just want to find a backer to roam the world, then quickly scram now. This time, I saved all of you. Next time, I won't attack again. Everything will depend on you." Even if the four of them had the 5 elements physique, but so what? He wasn't their nanny. If they wanted to follow him, then they would have to rise and become stronger. The weak could not even control their own destinies, so what was the point of living like this? The four looked at Long Fei and clenched their fists. One of them said, "Boss, we do not want to live our lives, we want to become stronger. The reason we entered the ancient antiquity is to become stronger, but our cultivation. It's been a full 5 years since I've broken through. We also did not find the root of the problem in the ancient antiquity. Who doesn't want to become stronger? We also want to live. We don't want to be mocked, bullied, and called trash every day. We don't want to live in this kind of world, but It's as if there's some sort of restriction within our bodies, and no matter how much effort we put into cultivating, we just can't break through. Another person said, eyes. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. The four lowered their heads. It was very hard. He wanted to become stronger, but yet, he was still unable to break through. It was as if he wasn't suitable for cultivation. Long Kwangdao, the reason why they are unable to break through with their current cultivation levels is because they have yet to awaken the power within their bodies. If they could not, they would not be able to do so for the rest of their lives. This is the power of the 5 elements. Moreover, they do not know how to complement each other, but this is the problem. If they knew how to borrow each other's power to cultivate, then the 5 elements in their body would have awakened a long time ago. However, this is just right for them to start all over again. Long Kwang indifferently said. They were like a piece of white paper. If it was filled with words, he would not know how to make a move. Right now, there was not a single word on this piece of white paper. If Long Kwang were to make a move, it would be much simpler, and much better for them. Long Fei looked at the 4 of them and said, I am here to help with cultivation. I will help you all rise to prominence. The 4 of them looked at Long Fei, a light flashed in their eyes, and one of them asked, Boss, I do not doubt your ability, but the 4 of us. It should be said that with the physiques of the 5 people, even Outer Door Presbyter would not be able to find any reason. Long Fei said, Outer Door Presbyter isn't much. If I say I can help you all break through, you guys just need to trust me. Right. You said 5 of you just now? There were 4 of them. Could it be? The other one also has the 5 elements physique. Assemble the 5 elements. Long Kwangdao, people with the 5 elements bodies are naturally attracted to each other, and the person who doesn't appear is very likely to be the water branch. One of them said, we still have a junior sister. She was beaten up until she was seriously injured and was at home, so we came out to earn some points to exchange for a water spirit pearl for her healing, but we 4 of us are useless. The 4 of them lowered their heads again, feeling choked with sobs. Long Kwangdao said, water spirit pearl, seems like my guess is right. That girl should be from the water element realm, and if she wants the water spirit pearl to heal her injuries, she might be on the verge of awakening. All 5 elements are present. Master, we've struck it rich this time. Long Fei said to Long Kwangdao. Are you confident that you can awaken their 5 elements power? Long Kwangdao, don't worry. I have quite a few sets of cultivation methods for the 5 elements. Long Kwang was very confident in this aspect. Long Fei nodded, that's good. And then, Long Fei looked at the 4 of them and asked, how many fire horn do you still need to complete the mission? Jin said, we don't have a single fire horn. The 4 of them wandered for several days, and it could be said that they had accomplished nothing. It wasn't easy for him to steal a monster that was injured by Long Fei, but in the end, they were all scared silly by Long Fei. Long Fei muttered, my mission plus theirs, I would need to kill 19 fire cows. It would be too much effort to find so many fire cows in such a short time. Thinking back to the fire bull cave that Hu Liehua had mentioned just now, Long Fei asked, how much do you know about the fire bull cave? The fire bull cave is located in the deepest part of the fire bull valley. Fire bull cave. The fire bull cave is located in the deepest part of the fire bull valley. Boss, that place is too dangerous. Boss, that place is too dangerous. Long Fei didn't think much of it, and said, lead the way, to the fire bull cave. Danger. As long as there were enough of them, no matter how dangerous it was, it didn't matter. With that, Long Fei strode towards the bottom of the valley. The 4 of them looked at Long Fei and muttered, will they still treat us as cannon fodder? It can't be. He doesn't need to. We can't say for sure. Why else would they want us to go to the fire bull cave? After all, this was their first time interacting with him, so they did not know much about Long Fei's character. In addition, the fire ox cave contained no signs of life, and entering would mean death. They were naturally very worried. However, Jin frowned and said, it wasn't easy to get someone to take us. We can't slander him like this. Even if we die, we will accept it. It's not easy for us to this point, and Boss saved us before. If it wasn't for him, we would have already died at Hu Liehua's hands. The boss gave me my life. Even if he wants to take it back, I'll take it. Since that's the case, then I'll accept it. The four of them looked at each other and decided to follow Long Fei. Long Fei heard what they were saying clearly, and the corner of his mouth slightly curled up. He shouted out loud, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and catch up to me." The four of them hurriedly followed him. At the mouth of the Fireball Valley, two men dressed like aliens stood at the entrance. One of them shouted angrily, "You dog, you ran really fast. If I didn't know what your mission was, I would have lost you. The boy is inside. Brother, you guard the exit, I will go in and take his head out." The heat was unbearable. The rocks in the depths of the valley were all red and bare. Not a single blade of grass could grow from them. The heat was unbearable. The rocks in the depths of the valley were all red and bare. Not a single blade of grass could grow from them. Standing at the entrance of the cave, he could feel the heat radiating from it. Gulp. Gulp. When the hot wind blew on his body, he felt as if he was being roasted on a fire rack. His entire body was drenched in sweat and was covered in grease. Just a little bit more and he would have been roasted. Long Fei was covered in sweat as he muttered, "There seems to be something strange inside." Amongst the four of them, only Fire's body was slightly normal. The others were also sweating profusely, and their clothes were drenched with sweat. They could not hold on much longer. Long Fei looked at them. If he went in, he wouldn't be able to help himself, so he said, "You guys wait at the cave entrance. I'll go in myself." The four of them were stunned. They were prepared to be Long Fei's cannon fodder, but they couldn't do that. They were a little unable to adapt to Long Fei's sudden change in behavior. "Boss, no, weren't we supposed to go in? Shall we go in and find the way?" Long Fei said lightly, "My little brother is my brother. I won't treat my brother's life as child's play. You guys wait outside." Finished. Long Fei stepped into the cave. Outside the cave, the four were stupefied. The person who had suspected Long Fei in the beginning blamed himself. "I even King said that, I'm simply not a human. Meeting a good person. From today onwards, he will be our boss, and our lives will be his. If we can't do anything, then we'll just block the blade for him, block the arrow." If at first, the four of them had only treated Long Fei as a brother on the surface and respected him, then now, in their hearts, they had already treated Long Fei as their real big brother. Especially those words that Long Fei had said, they would not take his brother's life as a joke, which made their hearts feel extremely touched. Within the cave, Long Fei's body continued to emit white mist. His skin was incomparably red from being roasted, and the clothes he was wearing looked as if they were about to ignite. Huff! Long Fei took in a deep breath of air. The air was filled with the smell of flames. Upon inhaling it into his body, his internal organs felt as if they were on fire. His physical body couldn't take it. Long Fei moved. Level 1 dragon body. Buzz. After releasing the power of the ancient dragon body, Long Fei's body relaxed and returned to normal. The blazing aura beneath the ancient dragon body did not have any reaction at all, as it completely did not come close to his body. This was the power of the dragon's body. Moo! With a roar, flames spouted out of its nose, and a flame ball dashed out at a breakneck speed. Its head sank as two sharp horns pointed at Long Fei's chest. So irritable. He's even more manic than the fire cows outside, and he's already going berserk. There must be some treasure or something that these fire cows are guarding. Long Fei did not want to waste time. With a flick of his forehead, he threw out a heavy punch at the fireball. Boom! It hit the bull's head and it lay flat on the ground. The bloody wound on his head also disappeared in an instant. After collecting the fire horn, Long Fei continued to delve deeper into the cave. The higher the temperature, the more the surrounding rocks would melt. No wonder, no one who entered would be able to leave the cave alive. If the temperature was not high enough, they would be burnt to ashes. Roar! Another flaming ball dashed out, its strength becoming even more ferocious. Its size was also larger. His eyes turned red as he glared at Long Fei, who was breathing heavily and spitting out flames, rushing towards him. Long Fei blocked with both of his arms. Boom! He stepped back, flicked his leg, and flew into the air. Ascending dragon. The sword slashed down. The flame ball was directly cut in half. Death. Long Fei picked up the fire horn and moved forward again. Along the way, he met several fiery bulls that were charging at him. Each of them was fiercer than the other, and each one was fiercer than the last. They were willing to risk their lives. They were rushing towards their deaths. Even if he died, he would still drag them down with him. He was giving his all. This was Long Fei. If it were anyone else, they would have died a long time ago. Stronger and stronger, fiercer and fiercer. Looks like there must be another Fireball King, there must be a boss inside. Long Fei finished harvesting the fire horn and went deeper. The environment was even worse now. At first, the rocks were only slowly melting, but now, the two sides of the cave were like lava. The crimson rocks on both sides flowed, and the rocks above would occasionally drop down. Long Fei's level 1 eternal dragon's body had endured for a long time, and his skin started to turn red. The temperature was too high, even his clothes were burnt into a ball. Hoo. Long Fei took a deep breath and walked forward. Suddenly, roar. A roar. The entire Fireball Valley started to shake. A stream of lava sprayed out from the top of the mountain. A volcano is erupting. A volcano is erupting. Quickly leave the valley. The disciples within the valley who were still hunting down the fire ox became frightened. Even though their cultivation was not weak, they still found it difficult to withstand this natural disaster. However, only one stream of magma was released, but it was not a second stream. In mid-air, the two immortal-like elderly men suddenly stopped in their tracks. Fire essence is erupting. It seems like there's a pretty good fire attribute demon beast at the bottom of the mountain. It's formed and has cultivated out the fire essence. Brother Dong, aren't you Huoxiu? The level of this fire element. The other person squinted his eyes and tried to sense it. The fire essence is very pure. This demon beast must have trained for at least 3,000 years, and judging from the movements of the mountain, there should be lava underground, using this magma energy to cultivate out fire essence. It can barely be considered a heavenly soul treasure. Perfect. At the critical moment for my eldest disciple to truly break through into the immortal emperor realm, if he had this fire element, he should be able to break through the bottleneck. He should be able to have more confidence in the selection of the divine space and not lose to the Sword Elf Mountain's Ling Yuan. Oh! The other old man was stunned. While they were talking, the immortal had already transformed into a streak of light and landed at the peak of Fireball Valley. He lowered his body and charged straight into the mountain. Another old man followed closely behind. The magma that was just spewed out was not ordinary magma. It carried an incomparably rich amount of fire elemental energy and the aura of the heaven and earth holy source. It could be considered a treasure of the world. The appearance of this kind of treasure was something that could not be concealed. It would attract many beasts and would also be discovered by the powerhouse. After the eruption of lava, all of the fire cows in the valley went berserk. They did not continue to attack the humans, but instead turned around and charged into the Fireball Cave. Within the cave, Long Fei had already reached the deepest part of the body. Looking at the scene in front of him, his Adam's apple tumbled. This is the F*King Demon Ox King, right? The flames roared, and the magma boiled. The flames roared, and the magma boiled. Streaks of golden light shot out from the pit, two gigantic horns glinting with cold light. The muscles all over its body were extremely thick, brimming with immense power. There was a ring hanging from his nose, and his breath was like a flame. There was a long chain around his neck. A thick belt was tied around his waist, with the word King written on it. He was not an ox. He was in human form. It's just that some parts of it haven't evolved well. However, all of this didn't matter. The most important thing was that its body. It flickered with a golden light. Boss. The humanoid boss. It was the first time for Long Fei to meet a boss in this form in the ancient world. Seeing the Demon Ox King writhing in the magma, he couldn't help but be excited. Boss. I wonder what the boss looks like. Long Fei was very excited. He opened up the system to have a look. Boss, Fireball King rank, immortal stage attribute, Fire skills? Description: subduable. A series of simple attributes appeared in the interface of the system. Long Fei rubbed his hands and could not help but chuckle. Subdue it, my ass. Who knew how long it had been since they last saw a boss? How could they let it go now? Right now, Long Fei was very thirsty. It was as though he had not eaten meat for a few years. Absolutely not. Suddenly, just as Long Fei was about to let out a light laugh, boom! A wave of heat burst out from the hole, causing the Fireball King to stare blankly. Buzz! The hot wave came, striking Long Fei's body heavily. Long Fei could not control himself and was almost knocked flying. Seeing the look in the Fireball King's eyes, Long Fei's pupils suddenly contracted. The powerful beast aura coming from the Fireball King's body suddenly crushed Long Fei's mind. He lowered his body slightly. The pressure was very strong. At least, it was much stronger than the last time he met the East Ghost King. It doesn't matter if you can take it or not. With continuous attacks filled with immense pressure, Long Fei's body was a little unable to bear it, and the weight continued to increase. A mere human, to dare enter my territory, you are courting death. The Fireball King opened its mouth slightly, staring at Long Fei with disdain. The heat waves from the fire pit were also constantly approaching. It crazily struck Long Fei. This attack wasn't a single attack, but a group attack. Both the heat wave attack and the pressure attack belonged to the group attack. As long as he was in this cave, Long Fei would not be able to hide. You dare to behave atrociously in my territory with such little ability. The Fireball King was filled with disdain. He had just cultivated fire elemental energy and evolved into a human. It was already possible to use human language. He could determine the cultivation level of Long Fei by the aura she gave off. Weak. Very weak. The Fireball King naturally did not place Long Fei in its eyes. Long Fei raised his eyes. He was unhappy. My little ability. Then let me show you my strength. 3-rate ancient dragon body. Open. Roar. With a roar, the dragon's roar fiercely shook inside Long Fei's body. The heat wave attack was overturned. The pressure attack was completely crushed. The chi on Long Fei's body moved, like a huge dragon suddenly diving down. Its gigantic dragon head stared straight at the Fireball King. The Fireball King's body sank, and its enormous body looked as if it was about to be pressed under the flames. Its eyes were unfocused, and at the same time, they revealed a trace of fear. The myriad beast dragon emperor. No matter how you evolve, no matter how strong you are, you're just trash in front of the dragon's might. 3-rate dragon body, might without anger. He directly crushed the Fireball King to the point that it couldn't move at all. Even the heat waves in the entire cave had been crushed down, and the flames were no longer rolling about. The Fireball King looked at Long Fei foolishly and said, You are a human. Why do you have the might of a dragon? Long Fei smiled faintly and said, How's my strength? The Fireball King stopped talking. Long Fei said, Are you still being arrogant? The Fireball King looked at Long Fei, and couldn't help but clench her fists tightly, and said, Kid, I do not believe that you are a powerhouse of the dragon race. Your cultivation is not fit for a powerhouse of the dragon race. Even if your body's aura turns into dragon's might, but it's not your own power, so, moo. The Fireball King roared in anger, and the flames on its body fiercely shot out like a fire snake, carrying with it lava. It rolled and moved, shooting out to form a hemisphere, instantly enveloping Long Fei within. Explode. The Fireball King let out a heavy cry. All of the magma flames exploded in Long Fei's ears. The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up, and he rushed forward. In the instant that the lava exploded, Long Fei directly landed on the head of the Fireball King. His fist moved. Super power boxing. Like a giant hammer, it smashed heavily onto the Fireball King's head. Bam! The Fireball King's 2 gigantic horns instantly cracked, causing him to scream in pain. His body was also blasted into the flames by Long Fei like a nail in the blink of an eye. Moo tilde 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 moo tilde tilde tilde. The gash on his head also instantly dropped by half. The magma that the Fireball King released was also extinguished in an instant. Above Long Fei's body, who was floating in the lava, looked at the Fireball King, and disdainfully said, "You're still being arrogant." Rumble. An explosion rumbled in the depths of the magma. At the same time, the entire Fireball Valley was trembling, and the mountains and rivers within a 10-kilometer radius were also trembling. Rocks tumbled down the mountain. The demon beast hummed. It was as if there was a monster underground that wanted to break out from the ground. Roar. The Fireball King's roar was like a raging fireball in Fireball Valley. At the same time, a lava fireball rushed out from the lava. Roar. He charged towards Long Fei, and heavily crashed into him. Long Fei dodged lightly, then turned around and chopped down with his palm, directly slicing the fire ox into two, as if he was cutting a piece of cabbage. Enraged. Come out, a few more. I happen to need fire horn, Long Fei said indifferently, his eyes staring at the lava pit. Next. The flames in the magma pit continued to spew out. One after another, the flaming bulls madly charged forward. Roar. Roar. The entire mountain range below was shaking, as was the cave. It was the same outside the cave. The fire cows that had charged out from the valley also charged towards Long Fei without a care. Pincer attack. It was abnormally fierce. With the great sword in his hand, Long Fei's body became like a mirage. With a slash and a slash, each of them would be instantly killed. Come. Let's see how much you can give birth to. No doubt about it. These fire cows were all made by Fireball King. He used the magma underground and combined it with some sort of secret technique he was training in to create these fireballs. But, to Long Fei, these fire cows were a little too weak. It was not enough. Moo! The Fireball King let out a roar, and its body became twice as big as before. At this moment, his entire body was covered in magma. At the heart, a crimson-red flame that was incomparably dazzling to the eye was burning. Long Quang suddenly shouted, "Fire essence!" The flame was the size of a fist. The flame was the size of a fist. The color of the flame was scarlet red, just like the sun that had just risen. It was a bit dazzling. The moment the Fireball King rose up from the magma, the temperature of the entire cave began to change. Incomparable heat. The air was filled with the scent of fire. When it entered his body, it felt as if his entire body was on fire. If not for the support of the ancient dragon body, Long Fei's body would have already been burnt to ashes. Fire element. What's that? Long Fei asked. Long Quangdao, a fire spirit, fire essence. No wonder this guy can cultivate the physique of an adult. So it turns out that he has cultivated fire essence. Looks like he has completely absorbed all the magma in this underground mountain range. Long Quang indifferently said. Long Fei asked, "Is it worth a lot?" Long Fei would not take anything else that Long Quang said to heart. He did not care what the effects were, nor did he care whether he was awesome or not. Did he just want to know how much this thing was worth? Long Quang calmly replied, "Just average." That's boring. Long Fei immediately lost interest. If the item was ordinary, then what was the point? Long Quangdao, Master, even if you don't look at who you are, this sort of childish thing can at most be considered average to you. For cultivators in the mortal world, this is not something ordinary people would do. That's quite impressive. Aren't there little brothers of the 5 elements outside? This fire essence is just enough to awaken the 5 elements in my body. This fire essence can help him cultivate for 10 years less. How could the words of a dragon be ordinary? He was at least a divine-level existence in the world of mortal world. Hearing Long Quang's words, Long Fei said, "Damn, then why didn't you say so earlier? Brothers of 5 elements had to be nurtured." These fellows were just as Long Quang had said. They were all peerless, unpolished jades. Once they were carved, it would be amazing. Dragon Quang's evaluation of the brothers of 5 elements was very high, surpassing Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan. In other words, their potential was enough for them to enter the divine space. If he wanted to enter the divine space, Long Fei needed helpers. Plus, brothers of 5 elements might be able to control the 5 elements laws in the future. That's amazing. Rumble. The power on the Fireball King's body trembled violently, and with a loud explosion, the entire cave seemed to collapse. The flames in its eyes stared straight at Long Fei, and it said solemnly, "Brat, let me show you my power." Buzz. As soon as he finished, the Fire Bull King's chi released a buzzing sound. The scarlet flame at the location of the heart slightly flickered, and the Fire Bull King inserted both of its hands into the magma. In an instant, Hualala! A 10-meter-long gigantic flame war hammer took it out from the magma. The magma was like water and continuously flowed down. The Fire Bull King held onto the warhammer. His arms flexed, raising high. The fire elemental energy surged again. The furious hammer slammed down. Hualala! Space began to burn and crack, and crimson cracks began to faintly appear. Long Quang said, "Be careful. His power is filled with fire elemental attacks. Your body hasn't reached the level of invincibility yet." Long Fei watched as the gigantic flame war hammer slashed down, and then moved his feet. The walk like snakeskin was up. The warhammer fell to the ground. Rumble. The ground began to crack and the entire mountain began to crack. Moreover, the place where the warhammer had smashed into instantly burned with city lava, and those black rocks instantly melted. This sort of power. The damage done is a bit off the chart. Long Fei said with a faint sound, and said excitedly, "A boss is a boss, it's just not the same." I like it. The fiercer the situation, the more Long Fei liked it. The stronger the boss, the better it was, because the stronger it was, the better it would drop. Long Quang started to say that fire essence was an ordinary thing and Long Fei lost all interest, but now, the Fire Bull King's explosive power all came from the fire essence. This damage, this explosive strength, this thing was definitely not inferior. Seeing the good stuff, Long Fei's blood started to boil. The momentum came. The Fire Bull King roared out, "Boom!" The flame war hammer attacked again. Long Fei's figure blurred and Snake Trust dodged. The Fire Bull King roared, "Trash human, are you cowering like a dog now? You don't even dare to receive a single hammer strike from me? You scum!" Being mocked by the demon beast, Long Quang said, "His weakness is his heart. If we can take out his fire essence, he will lose his source of power." What weakness? If you just want to fight him head on, then do it head on. F***ck, you dare to laugh at me? Long Fei's eyes turned sinister, the power of the three-rate dragon body burst forth. His body moved. Bam! He stepped on the air and his body shot out, appearing in front of the Fire Bull King in a flash. "You think you can laugh at me?" When the Fire Bull King saw Long Fei appearing in front of it, it moved and roared, "Die!" The flame war hammer pulled out its body from the lava and dove towards Long Fei's head with its body covered in flames. This time, Long Fei was completely shrouded under the flame war hammer and there was no place for him to hide. There was no way to dodge it. However, Long Fei also didn't think of dodging. He had appeared in front of the Fire Bull King precisely to confront it head-on. Is the flame war hammer awesome? Injuries? The magma carries the power to burn everything. F***ck. This old man wants to fight you. He clenched his fists tightly. Boom, boom. A mark of power shot out from Long Fei's fists, and also instantly produced a loud explosion. He raised his eyes and stared at the flame war hammer above his head. His body shot out once again and rushed towards the flame war hammer. Breaking heaven, king of strength. He punched the flame war hammer heavily. Boom. Flames scattered everywhere. Like fireworks, it exploded in midair, causing Long Fei's fists to burn, and it hurt a little. My level 3 physical body is still not invincible. Although it was a bit painful. However, Long Fei's fist had blocked the several tens of thousands of kilograms of hammer strikes. Under the powerful bombardment of the Fire Bull King, it was unable to move an inch forward. Long Fei smirked and laughed coldly. "You laugh at me? Heh heh." His left fist moved once again. Bang! Bam! Bam! Suddenly, Long Fei's fist struck the flame war hammer like a torrential storm. The lava on the flame war hammer exploded continuously. This was not the scene of the fireworks anymore. It was now like a meteor shower, with lava flying everywhere. The number of flame war hammer continued to decrease. The Fire Bull King continued to press down. However, it was simply impossible to suppress it. Not only that, his arms were also becoming numb, as they were completely unable to withstand Long Fei's attack. In a short span of 10 seconds, the 10-meter-long flame warhammer only had the handle of the warhammer in its hands. Long Fei looked down from above and said coldly, "Come. You're trying to act cool with Laozi again. Just right in front of you. 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 Hanging up again? Since I've already chopped you, let's see how you're going to hang me. Flame warhammer. Smash it into pieces and hammer it one more time." The Fireball King's arms were about to dislocate. It was very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. What was difficult to bear was not the fact that his flame warhammer had been destroyed by Long Fei, but the fact that he was being crushed by Long Fei. Only then did he evolve his own strength into an immortal stage realm. However, he had been crushed by a human with only swordsman rank. How could he bear with such resentment? The hair on top of the Fireball King's head stood up straight, as if it was going to explode. Ah! He let out a wild cry, and the cave began to shake violently. The lava started to burn crazily, and was constantly boiling. At this time, the Fireball King's fire elemental energy also exploded. It formed into a scarlet halo of light, which lingered and formed a special seal. This scene, Long Fei watched in a daze. Damn, is this really the rise of an ox? The aura on the Fireball King was completely wrong. He was truly driven mad by Long Fei, and sank into an extremely strong berserk state. That's not right. F***CK. Is it Mondo? Long Fei muttered, stared at the Fireball King and smiled. Not bad, there is still more power. The Fireball King was completely scarlet red and had gone berserk. His hands sank as he reached into the depths of the lava. Hualala. The sound of boiling lava could be heard again as a crimson mace was pulled out. Damn. Is this a magic trick? Long Fei laughed. Long Guangdao, Master, be careful, he's already completely enraged by you. Long Fei laughed. I want him to be angry. Tell him to release his strongest power. Long Guangdao, why? Long Fei said, because this is so great. Boom. With a sweep of the Fireball King's mace, the flames exploded outwards, causing the entire cave to turn scarlet red, as if it was going to melt. He pointed heavily at Long Fei and said, I want to kill you. He took a step forward. With one hand, he grabbed towards Long Fei. Long Fei gently leaped forward as the snake's tongue beneath the ancient dragon body moved too quickly, as if it was flashing across the sky every single time. Long Fei did not jump away. He was not far from the Fireball King, only about 2 meters away. The halo of fire surrounding the Fireball King had a tremendous power. Not only that, it also had a special defensive power that was unique to fire. Long Fei was secretly shocked, and said, the combination of Oxhead's Big and Meng Duo's W. Hualala. Unable to grab hold of it with one hand, the Fireball King smashed towards Long Fei with its staff. Long Fei did not dodge, and with his arms crossed, he blocked the incoming hammer. Bang! A powerful shockwave burst out. Long Fei's body also sunk slightly. What a strong power. I'm not playing with you anymore. The 3-rate ancient dragon body had a time limit, and it would have a certain degree of side effects, but the side effects were something Long Fei could accept. However, he could not be too late. Otherwise, Long Fei's body would have been in great pain. The pain of his body being torn apart and his spiritual energy being drained was simply too excruciating. Thus, he suddenly raised both of his hands, blocking the wolf-fanged mace. Then, he moved his body and with a leap, he directly landed on top of the Fireball King's head. The scarlet-red halo of flames continued to attack Long Fei. Long Fei tightened the center of his brows and sank his right fist behind him. The Fireball King's eyes stared angrily as it released a roar. The fire essence around its heart had become more glaring than ever before. He exerted his strength to the limit. However, Long Fei coldly snorted, "Get down, roar." There was a dragon's roar in his voice. It was as if a dragon was roaring. Moreover, at this moment, Long Fei's body seemed to have been wrapped up by the illusory image of a huge dragon, surrounding his body from the left and right, punching towards the head of the Fire Bull King ruthlessly, as if a huge dragon was smashing down. Rumble. 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 It was like a mad explosion. The shockwaves were so powerful that it was visible to the naked eye. When the flames on his body came in contact with Long Fei's power, they quickly shattered. His body also unceasingly bent and sank. Bam! He fell to his knees. The top of his head split open. Flaming red blood gushed out. In the end, bang! The huge body fell to the ground. The cave sank in, and rubble fell to the ground. Half of the body was buried. The aura of the Fire Bull King was rapidly weakening, and the temperature of the cave was quickly decreasing as well. Hoo 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 hoo. Hoo 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 hoo. The Fire Bull King, who was lying on the ground, unable to move, gasped for breath. Its eyes were unfocused as it stared at Long Fei, who was slowly falling. "Master, please spare me." At this time, the Fire Bull King gave in. He didn't have the slightest temper. He didn't dare to use any more strength. He didn't have any more strength now. "Let you go." Long Fei looked at the last bit of HP on the head of the Fire Bull King and said, "I'm not here to let you go. Why should I let you go?" The Fire Bull King said, "I can become your war pet. I can be loyal to you forever. Long Fei disdained, "My ass. Don't waste Lao's time. You can report to Yama now." While they were talking, Long Fei punched down. He did not want to continue. Bam! The Fire Bull King did not have any chance to retaliate. Long Fei's fist immediately reduced its HP to 0. At this moment, the system sounded out. Long Fei's eyes lit up. He could not help but become excited, exploded, dropped. "Give me some good stuff." Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Fire Bull King. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining first-tier fire elemental. Heh. Long Fei waited for a few seconds, and when there were no more notifications, he immediately scolded, "System, damn you, I worked so hard and you already dropped a piece of fire essence. Can't you be a little more King tricky?" Just as Long Fei finished cursing, the system once again rang out, but this time, it was not a notification sound. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a special reward for killing Fire Bull King. Heh. Long Fei was stunned again. Damn, a special reward. Big Brother system sure is impressive. Long Fei turned his head faster than a book could be turned. 1 second he was cursing, the next second he was laughing. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a special reward skill. Determination of spirit. Determination? What kind of skill is that? Wait. I seem to have thought of something. This skill seems to be. Suddenly, Long Fei's gaze turned cold, as though he thought of something, and his eyes instantly flashed with light. Determination, the ultimate move of Oxhead Chief Alistair? Damn. With this move, his defense was heaven-defying. With this move, his defense was heaven-defying. All kinds of immunity. Moreover, this was merely a familiarity within a game. When placed on Long Fei, the strength of the ancient dragon body could be said to be extremely terrifying. Long Fei did not think that the system would reward him with a special set of skills. Ding. Do you wish to cultivate it? Cultivate. Long Fei did not hesitate, he had to cultivate this kind of skill. One more skill appeared in the skill bar. Long Fei took a look at it and excitedly smiled. Sure enough. With this skill, your father's defense is amazing. Heh. I've struck it rich. The holy artifact that was revealed was also not as cool as this set of skills. When the Fire Bull King died, Long Fei immediately withdrew his ancient dragon body's power, and at the same time, his body sank. Huff. Blood stung the nose. Long Fei's face turned pale, she had to resist the pain, and blood leaked out from the corner of her mouth. The power of the three-rate ancient dragon body cannot last for long. Huff, huff. Panting heavily, Long Fei's body felt as though it was about to be torn apart, and his mind felt as if it was being hollowed out. It was very hard. Long Fei forced himself to hold back. The time in the three-rate ancient dragon body was not easy to control, so Long Fei was unable to accurately grasp the time, so even if it was an extra second, his body would still be in extreme pain. Even if the time was not past, his body would still suffer from the pain, but it would only be slightly weaker. Long Fei's current cultivation could at most reach the second rank as a dragon, but if he surpassed it, he would have to use his own body to bear the consequences. Long Fei sat cross-legged and began to recuperate. At this moment, the space between his eyebrows tightened, and when he opened his eyes, he saw two old men floating in the air not far away from him. An aura wrapped around their bodies. He floated in mid-air without moving, as if he was walking on flat ground. The aura around him was very special, just like the immortals in the movies. Long Fei's heart tensed up, and he stood up. The two celestial elders stepped in. Shua. A slight ripple appeared in the air and instantly appeared in front of Long Fei. One of the immortals looked at Fireball King lying in a pool of blood. His eyes were startled, he was secretly shocked, then looked at Long Fei and asked, "You killed the Fireball King?" The other immortal went up to the Fireball King and turned its body over. Long Fei replied respectfully, "Yes." The auras of these two old fellows were simply too strong. As of right now, when Long Fei entered the ancient world, he had never encountered such a strong aura, one that was even stronger than the aura on Ling Yuan's body. The cultivation level of the number one disciple in Sword Elf Mountain, Ling Yuan, was already at King Swordsman rank. But the auras of these two old men were even stronger than King Swordsman rank. Long Fei had to be careful. The old man stroked his beard as he looked at Long Fei with excitement. "Your cultivation is not strong, but this Fireball King's cultivation is at least at the Sword Saint peak realm. Can you kill him?" The disparity in power was too great. This was simply impossible. Long Fei said, "Maybe it's my good luck." "Luck?" The elder smiled faintly. "Luck doesn't exist in this world. You should be an ancient cultivator, right? What's your talent?" The moment they entered the mountain, they felt an extremely powerful force. At first, they thought that it was some kind of powerhouse, but when they saw Long Fei, they were secretly shocked. Long Fei said indifferently, "I don't know." "You don't know?" The center of my brows twitched. "You must be a disciple of the ancient antiquity, right? You didn't participate in the inner sect selection?" Long Fei replied, "No, the inner sect senior brother S and elders did not let me display my talent, and I do not know what it is either." Long Fei did not know where these two fellows came from. There were many things that he could not say either, and he could only carefully deal with them. "That's strange. If this Fireball King was really killed by you, then your talent is truly terrifying. How could I not let you display your talent?" The old man said lightly. Another old man stood up and looked at Long Fei. He said indifferently, "Kid, where is the fire essence on this Fireball King?" He had just checked earlier that the Fireball King had the aura of burning fire. However, the fire essence hidden within his body had disappeared. Long Fei feigned a stupefied expression and said, "Fire element? What was a fire element? I didn't see it." The elder's eyes grew dark as he spoke. "If I were you, I would obediently take out the fire essence. That way, I would be able to preserve my life. Brother Dong, it's just a fire yuan, isn't that too serious?" The old man looked at Dong Tiankue. He was speaking up for him. Long Fei made him very interested. The swordsman rank killing Fireball King sounded impossible, but Long Fei was the only one inside the cave. This Fireball King was killed by Long Fei. Although Long Fei said that it was luck, there was no such thing as luck in this world. Dong Tiankue's eyes were still ice-cold as he said, "Junior brother Fang, you don't know that this fire element is a little special? Just now, I felt that this fire element is no ordinary fire element. Fireball King cultivated for at least 2,000 years before they managed to cultivate this fire elemental. Not only that, this fire elemental has absorbed the essence of the underground flame vein and has a powerful fire attribute energy. At first, he had thought that it was an ordinary fire element. However, he had only come down to get it for his disciple. However, when he had carefully examined it a moment ago, he had discovered that this fire element was not ordinary at all. It was all saint rank for his current cultivation. One could imagine the importance of this fire element. Fang Wampeng was shocked. He glanced at Long Fei and asked, Will it disappear along with the death of the Fireball King? Dong Tiankue immediately said, impossible. This type of fire element belongs to the spiritual treasures of heaven and earth. It would not disappear just because of the death of the host. It would remain in the body. The Fireball King does not have any fire element in her body, so. Dong Tiankue looked at Long Fei and said, Brat, it's better to give it up if you know what's good for you. Hand over the fire essence. I will have the outer door presbyter take care of you and give you more cultivation resources. You are not a fire elementalist, so this fire element is of no use to you at all. Dong Tiankue stared at Long Fei. Just now, Long Fei admitted that he had killed Fireball King. Thus, he was sure that the fire essence was with Long Fei. The appearance of a disciple of the swordsman rank in this kind of cave was already very special. No matter how strong his inherent skill was or how weak he was, Dong Tiankue did not even put him in his eyes. What he wanted was fire essence. Fang Wampeng said indifferently, is there any other possibility? He was still trying to excuse Long Fei. Dong Tiankue said, there are no other possibilities, the fire essence is with him, I can feel the aura of flames there. Long Fei's face tensed up, since he could not hide it from him, he had no choice but to admit it, but to get him to hand over the fire essence. How could a duck that was in the mouth fly? Long Fei was calm and composed, and said, what if I don't hand it over? And if I don't? Long Fei was very calm, as he stared at Dong Tiankue. And if I don't? Long Fei was very calm, as he stared at Dong Tiankue. And even making Long Fei spit out the thing he had obtained? This was impossible. If you hand it over, you won't be Long Fei. Moreover, although he could not use it, the brothers of 5 elements outside could. Dong Tiankue's forehead turned sinister as the corner of his mouth revealed a cold smile, and he said, Kid, being young and full of vigor is not necessarily a good thing. As a cultivator, you should be clear about the law of the jungle in this world. While they were talking, under his robe, his palm lightly moved. Power surged. The surrounding aura instantly changed. The gale under his feet rose up in all directions, and he could make his move at any time. He didn't try to cover it up. He wants to let Long Fei see, if he doesn't, you might be in danger of losing your life. Fang Wampeng stepped forward and stopped Dong Tiankue. Senior brother Dong, why fight with a junior? I'll talk to him. Fang Wampeng turned around and looked at Long Fei. He gave him a meaningful glance and said, little brother, take out the fire essence first. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Long Fei immediately interrupted him and said, I killed the Fireball King based on my ability, and I obtained the fire essence based on my ability, why should I hand it over? Just based on your strength alone? Dong Tiankue sneered and said, you're right, we are the ones who are strong. Long Fei said, you are strong, but I am not necessarily weak. You want me to hand it over? Bah. I, your father, will not hand it over. Long Fei was a little unhappy. Dong Tiankue squinted his eyes, with killing intent in his eyes, the chi on his body turned sinister, and he took a step forward. Long Fei also frowned. Right now, he did not even know the cultivation levels of Dong Tiankue and Yu Yang. Moreover, his body had not recovered yet. The ancient dragon body was currently in a cooled state, so if he were to forcefully use it, it would cause great harm to his body. I can't use the ancient dragon body at this time. But Long Fei just did not submit. When life and death are indifferent, do as you please. A duckling's mouth could be given to someone else. The moment Dong Tiankue took a step forward, Long Fei let out a light breath, and his mind tensed up. Be careful. Fang Wampeng anxiously blocked Dong Tiankue, and said, Senior brother Dong, no matter what, he is still a disciple of our ancient antiquity, it isn't good for you to do this. Dong Tiankue looked at Fang Wampeng, and his pupils gently shrank. He was greatly surprised that Fang Wampeng was able to say such words. Fang Wampeng felt Dong Tiankue's anger and said, don't be anxious, I'll persuade him again. Finished. Fang Wampeng then pulled Long Fei, who was walking to the side, and said, little brother, I know it is very disappointing for you to hand over the fire essence, but Do you want to know whether the fire element is more important or your life is? Also, do you know who he is? He is the patriarch of the Horcrux's gate. If you contribute the fire essence, he will definitely not treat you unfairly. Furthermore, I will give you some compensation. 100 grade holy source stones. How is it? 100 grade holy source stones was undoubtedly a huge sum of money. However, Long Fei did not believe Fang Wanpeng, a black and a red face. Are you all singing? Fang Wanpeng stared blankly for a moment. She knew that Long Fei had misunderstood his good intentions and said, "Do you think it's necessary for us to do this?" Long Fei was also not long-winded, and said, "Don't say any more, I will not hand over the things, either let me go, or..." Dong Tiankue had already lost his patience and shouted, "Either you die here." Boom. His aura shook, and his strength was incomparably strong. It pounced towards Long Fei like a ferocious beast. Fang Wanpeng's eyes tensed up, he did not know how to react. Seeing Dong Tiankue's imposing beast pounce towards him, he still took a step forward, crossing his arms, and directly blocking the oppressive beast. His body also retreated a step, and said, "Dong senior brother, I think that this matter." Dong Tiankue had lost his patience to begin with, and his own junior brother had even asked an outsider to stand up for him. In his heart, he was even more anxious, and shouted loudly, "Fang Wanpeng, are you going to go against me?" Fang Wanpeng said, "Senior brother, why would I go against you? I only think that he..." Not even giving Fang Wanpeng the chance to speak, Dong Tiankue immediately interrupted him and said, "If you don't want to oppose me, then stand at the side. A mere outer court disciple dares to be so arrogant in front of me? It's your honor to not know what's good for you. No one will care if I kill an outer disciple like you." His voice was filled with rage and killing intent. His right palm blurred once again. His aura trembled. In an instant, the pressure on Dong Tiankue grew heavy. Boom, a loud explosion resounded. This time, the ferocious beasts surrounded Long Fei from all sides. Long Fei was also furious in his heart. Looking at the ferocious beasts pressuring him, his heart sank as he said, "Come, let's see who the F***K doesn't know what's good for themselves." Long Fei was raging. Weak meant being beaten. Weak meant being looked down upon. Weak meant being bullied and mocked. All in all, outer court disciples were still disciples, at least they were disciples of the sect, but were outer court disciples like ants in front of the Grand Horcrux's gate sect leader. You want to steal the good stuff you have on you, is it your honor to be praised as such? If it was any other person, they might have been robbed just like that. They might even have to kneel on the ground with their hands in front of them, but he is Long Fei. It was impossible for him to hand it over willingly. Moreover, was he weak? Dong Tiankue's eyes darkened as he said in a heavy tone, "You're courting death." As the sound of it faded, the 8 intimidating ferocious beasts all pounced over. Roar! 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 S body sank. It was as if his body had suddenly gained an additional 10 million jin, and the pressure was so heavy that he was unable to even kick it out. It was very hard. But Long Fei clenched his fists tightly, his teeth clattering loudly. The idea moved, releasing spirit of the Ghost King at the Fireball King that was not far away. "Listen to my summons. Moo!" In the air, the Fireball King let out a roar. Long Fei absorbed the Fireball King's soul into the Spirit King's body. Next, in that split second, Long Fei let out a heavy shout, "Come out, Fireball King!" Roar! The Fireball King was summoned, both of its fists struck its chest, and the flame halo around its body was released. It stood in front of Long Fei and roared. Moreover, at this time, the Fireball King released a powerful attack. The tyrannical beast power forced the 8 ferocious beasts to retreat. Immortal stage beast spirit? He actually summoned the soul of a Fireball King? Fang Wanpeng was even more shocked. He had thought that Long Fei was a little special to begin with, and now, he felt that Long Fei was even more abnormal. Even though the Fireball King in front of him appeared like ghosts, but its strength was not weakened by the slightest bit. In fact, it was even more manic. The 8 intimidating beasts were forced back. Dong Tiankue squinted his eyes, becoming even more sinister and murderous. You still dare to resist, right? Originally, Dong Tiankue was already furious, but after Long Fei summoned his Fire Bull King and forced his beast to retreat, he became even more furious in his heart. Originally, Dong Tiankue was already furious, but after Long Fei summoned his Fire Bull King and forced his beast to retreat, he became even more furious in his heart. It could be said that he was infuriated. In an instant, his robes fluttered without wind, causing explosive sounds to ring out unceasingly. His aura transformed into supreme force. With a flip of his right hand, boom, the 8 intimidating ferocious beasts disappeared in an instant. Dong Tiankue stared angrily. I'll let you resist. Roar! The 8 beasts that had disappeared suddenly changed, directly transforming into 8 giants, standing in front of Long Fei. He cupped his fists together. Catcher, catcher. The 8 giants held their fists tightly and looked down from above, like war axes as they slashed at Long Fei. He did not hesitate at all and almost shouted out in one breath. Space itself exploded. Cracks and moans continued to be heard. It was as if space was roaring. The Fire Bull King also roared, and its body became larger to fight back. Boom. Rumble. The Fire Bull King could not even hold on for a second, so with a punch, its body started to crack. With a howl, it shattered into pieces. Ding. System notification. The Ghost King spirit has sent out a crack. Ghost Spirit Fire Bull King is dead. The Ghost King spirit broke apart once again. The Fire Bull King was also instantly killed. Get down. Dong Tiankue roared. The 8 giants pressed down heavily, causing Long Fei's eyes to darken. I will fuck your 18 generations of ancestors. Determination. Open. Long Fei roared out in his heart. He forcefully endured his severely injured body and released the Oxhead Chief's ultimate move. Roar. The aura on his body changed. Defense rippled. It directly covered Long Fei's entire body, and there was a seal wrapped around his body, revolving non-stop around his body. The scene was just like the cowhead moves in a game. Long Fei could do nothing about the 8 pressure giants but passively defend. Resolve will was something that the system had just rewarded, and it was also his strongest defensive strength other than the ancient dragon body. Rumble. Rumble. The 8 great pressure giants smashed down, directly hitting Long Fei's head. Long Fei's body sank. Heavy. Rumble. The bones in his body felt as if they were about to break. His body sank even deeper, and the force of the 8 giant pressuring people caused his scalp to go numb. His entire body was in extreme pain, and blood started to seep out from every pore of his body. In almost an instant, Long Fei was drenched in blood. His clothes were soaked with blood. But Long Fei did not die, much less lie down. He bent his body, and his legs began to tremble. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and he panted heavily. Huff. The defense of the cowhead skill on his body was also shattered in that instant. He's not dead yet. Dong Tiankue's eyes opened wide, and the muscles in the corner of his eyes twitched. It felt like someone had slapped him in the face. It felt terrible, not physically, but mentally. He, a dignified powerhouse of the King Swordsman rank, actually. He couldn't even kill a weakling from the swordsman rank. Furthermore, he did not manage to kill him in 2 moves. Although these 2 moves were not his strongest power, but, to him, killing 2 moves without dying was already a huge loss of face. To him, this was a humiliation. Even his breathing had become different, his nostrils had become the color of flames. He was a fire elementalist. Fire was his true strength. After not killing Long Fei in 2 moves, he was already infuriated to the extreme. The fire attribute energy surged and his clothes also became the color of fire, as if they were ignited. It was true anger. Fang Wampeng frowned. He just reacted from Long Fei blocking Dong Tiankue's attack. The shock in his heart was like a huge wave that flipped through the sky. A swordsman rank warrior could actually withstand an attack from the King Swordsman. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, who would believe it? This brat. Too. This is too rare. Fang Wampeng only started to love her, but he couldn't find a suitable disciple for her. Such a monstrous genius like ancient antiquity was not someone he could choose from. In addition, he liked to travel alone. He was just like a rogue cultivator in the inner sect. It was even harder to find a suitable disciple. He belonged to the category of people on the border of ancient antiquity. Seeing Long Fei, he already had a love for him and wanted to take him in as a disciple. When he had blocked Dong Tiankui's 8 great crushing strikes earlier, his heart had been extremely shaken. He wanted to take Long Fei as his disciple even more. Seeing that Long Fei was heavily injured, Dong Tiankui was furious and released his fire attribute energy. He wanted to attack Long Fei again, but Fang Wampeng's heart tightened. We can't let him die. And then, his footsteps moved, once again blocking in front of Long Fei, and said, "Senior brother Dong, if there's anything you want to discuss, can you give me, Fang Wampeng, some face?" Dong Tiankui was already extremely angry, and did not pay any attention to Fang Wampeng as he heavily shouted, "Scram! If I don't cripple this brat today, I won't be Dong Tiankui." With his killing intent already resolved, how could he let go? At the same time, boom! The flames burst out from his body, and in a flash, the temperature of the entire cave soared like the sun. Long Fei's entire body was covered in blood, his blood boiling hot as white smoke continuously emitted from his body. His body started to tremble. However, Long Fei's eyes darkened as he said in a heavy tone, "Come, this old man is still afraid of you. Never submit." If not for the fact that Long Fei used the power of the 3-rate ancient dragon body to deal with the Fire Bull King, he would not even be able to endure for a second and would have immediately exploded out. However, his body was severely injured, and the power of the 3-rate dragon body could not be activated at all. Not to mention the 3rd stage, he could not even open the 1st stage. Long Fei clenched his teeth and persisted. "All right. Then how long can you be so stubborn?" The flame suppression on Dong Tiankui's body moved. Boom! A fiery giant appeared, wielding a war hammer. He slashed at Long Fei's head. Ah! Hualala! A powerful flame swept out. The flames in the entire cave seemed to have retracted all of a sudden, condensing into a scarlet fireball, just like the fire elemental energy on the Fire Bull King's body. Damage blast. Bang! Boom! Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. Ah! He roared furiously in his heart. However, it was just an angry roar. Looking at the extremely strong flame roaring at him, he tried his best to activate the power in his body, but no. Unable to activate. It couldn't be activated. No. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't release the power of the ancient dragon body. His serious injuries limited the release of the ancient dragon body. Seeing the flames falling down, Long Fei's eyes narrowed. Am I going to die here? I can't accept this. I can't accept it. Long Fei roared in his heart, but there was nothing he could do now. There was no way to do it. He could only watch as the flames crushed down on him. He could only wait to die here. Her eyes were glaring furiously. Long Fei's eyes was filled with unwillingness, his heart secretly relaxed. I want to die. At this moment, a figure flashed out. A figure flashed out. A figure flashed out. With his hands intersected, a dark green energy surged from his body and formed a cross-shaped defense shield in front of Long Fei. Rumble. 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 The sound was so loud that it caused the cave to crack and boulders to roll down. All the mountains within a 10,000-kilometer radius all trembled. The demon beast in the valley also roared. Outside the cave, Brothers of 5 Elements was extremely anxious. What should we do? How's boss doing in there? We can't just wait. We have to do something, right? No one has treated us so well since we've entered the ancient antiquity. Since we've recognized him as our boss, how can we let our boss be in danger alone? I don't care. I have to go in no matter what. If I die, I die. Brothers of 5 Elements was also a hot-blooded young man. They recognized Long Fei as their boss. Right now, the cave was producing all sorts of violent collision sounds. In this kind of situation, they couldn't sit still. The 5 of them looked at each other and nodded heavily. The 4 of them swiftly rushed into the cave. They went in. According to what Hu Liehua and the others said, Long Fei had tightened his grip on the fireball cave. Should we? The two middle-aged men's eyes were cold, their body was releasing killing intent, quietly observing brothers of 5 elements from the shadows. Seeing the 4 of them rush into the cave, they were sure that Long Fei was inside. Right now, they had to consider whether or not they should follow him in. After all, they had come with a mission. Wait a little longer. There must be something strange inside the fireball cave. There's only one exit to this cave, and we're guarding right here. If they come out, they can only come out here. Long Fei, that brat, is best alive. If he doesn't come out, then he's definitely dead inside. Our mission is also complete, another man said lightly. All they had to do now was wait. With such a violent collision happening inside the cave, there must have been a fierce battle going on. No matter what happened inside, they only had to wait here. The mantis stalks the cicada and the oriole. They were the yellow sparrow. As for the 4 brothers who had charged in, they were useless in their eyes. They were just 4 pieces of trash who posed no threat to them at all. Within the cave, Long Fei was startled. Looking at Fang Wampeng in front of him, he was shocked. You? He thought that Fang Wampeng was in cahoots with Dong Tiankue, but it seems that he wasn't. Fang Wampeng's face showed that he was struggling, the cross-medallion shield was already cracking and could not withstand the fire hammer's attack. Looking at Long Fei's dazed eyes, he let out a heavy sigh and said, "Return what to you, hurry up and run." Long Fei was shocked. Dong Tiankue let out a heavy cry, and said, "Fang Wampeng, are you really going to go against me?" He didn't think that Fang Wampeng would actually make a move. It even blocked his fiery giant's heavy hammer. The anger in his heart grew even stronger. Fang Wampeng said, "Senior brother, I just do not want him to die. I hope that senior brother can be magnanimous and spare him." "No way. He must die today." As he said that, Dong Tiankue's eyes were already red. He would not let Long Fei go, no matter what, he had to kill Long Fei. Otherwise, it would be a great humiliation to him. Fang Wampeng said, "Does senior brother have to kill him?" Dong Tiankue said, "You must kill him." Fang Wampeng's gaze sank, and said, "I can only offend you all too." Held Long Fei with one hand, protecting his back, as he said in a heavy tone, "Find an opportunity to escape, quickly." Dong Tiankue glared at him, "He can't leave. If you dare to block me, you will die as well." Boom. As the flames surged, special runes appeared on the body of the fire giant and its power rose once again. Fang Wampeng was not afraid, as he chanted in his mind, and his clothes instantly turned dark green, as they emitted a crystal clear light. Light covered his entire body. It was like a magic shield. Fang Wampeng said in a low voice, "I will stall him later, find a chance and escape yourself." Long Fei asked, "What about you?" Fang Wampeng smiled faintly, and said, "Don't worry, although I can't beat him, I still have the ability to protect myself. Don't be afraid when you return to the sect. There are tens of thousands of outer court disciples, so it's not that easy for him to find you. Go." Fang Wampeng said calmly, as his gaze turned to look at Dong Tiankue. His eyebrows tightened, as his cultivation was one level lower than Dong Tiankue's. If he were to go all out, he could only last 10 minutes at most. However, since he had made his choice, he wouldn't turn back. He had never done anything that made him regret his actions. Even if he was wrong, that was the end of it. Long Fei nodded, and said, "Then you should be careful." Just as Long Fei wanted to continue, Long Quang suddenly spoke out, "This fire attribute cultivator's cultivation is stronger than Mo Li's. If both parties were to go all out, he would only be able to hold out for 8 minutes and he would be defeated. Tell him that if he wants to win, he must attack his main body. His main body's thigh and thigh are his weaknesses. As long as he attacks once, his fire attribute source energy will shrink. If he attacks again at this time, if he attacks 3 times, he'll be able to turn the tide." Long Fei was slightly stunned, but he quickly changed the topic and said, "Senior, his weakness is his main body's thigh. There are injuries on his thigh, and if he were to attack 3 times, his power would quickly shrink and be unable to be released." Fang Wanpeng was startled for a moment, then looked at Long Fei and said, "All right, I'll remember." Dong Qiankue shouted as he changed the weapon in the fire giant's hand into a gigantic mountain-splitting knife and slashed at Long Fei without hesitation. Fang Wanpeng's gaze tensed up, and immediately went to meet them head-on. With a heavy sound, he said, "Kid, quickly leave." Boom. The two forces collided with each other, and the entire mountain could no longer endure and began to crack continuously. Seeing that, Long Fei did not hesitate, he turned and ran out. Dong Qiankue stared at Long Fei and bellowed, "Run? You won't be able to escape." Boom. An imposing aura rushed towards Long Fei. The pressure circled around Fang Wanpeng, its speed extremely fast. However, Fang Wanpeng's eyes darkened, his body blurred, and like a shadow, he landed in front of Long Fei. "Senior brother Dong, your opponent is me." Fang Wanpeng blocked, and immediately used his own body to block the attack. His body sank, and blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth, but he still said to Long Fei, "Run. Don't worry about this." Dong Qiankue was furious. He stared at Fang Wanpeng and said, "You're courting death." Long Fei stopped and looked at Dong Qiankue seriously, and said, "This daddy has recorded this grudge, and in the future, I will return it tenfold." Long Fei did not stop. Long Fei did not stop. He couldn't stay either. If he stayed in this state, he would only be a burden to Fang Wanpeng. If Fang Wanpeng had not used his body to block the powerful attack, he would have been lying flat on the ground by now. The rage in his heart raged. His hatred soared to the sky, but Long Fei was not blinded by it. His only choice was to escape. "Hurry up." Fang Wanpeng rushed towards Dong Qiankue, seemingly releasing all the power in his body. He was going all out. Long Fei turned and ran into the passage. Dong Qiankue was furious. He watched as Long Fei disappeared into the cave, stared at Fang Wanpeng and said, "You overestimate yourself. You think you're qualified to block me? Fang Wanpeng, you are courting death." Before he could finish, the fire giant that Dong Qiankue summoned changed its shape once again. The flames on his body also started to burn. Moreover, at the same time, his right hand flipped and released a strand of fire essence. As he coldly looked at Fang Wanpeng, "You're courting death, and I'll grant your wish." Rumble. 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 With an explosion, the cave collapsed. The cave behind Long Fei continued to cave behind him, and he was unable to see the situation inside. Dong Qiankue's cultivation was too strong. Advanced sword immortal realm. Just the pressure itself was too much for him to bear. He had just released the fire elemental energy that he had cultivated earlier, and the fire elemental energy was his source energy. From the explosion just now, he could tell that he had used all of his power. I wonder if Senior will be able to withstand it. Long Fei ran out of the cave with all his might. His entire body was in pain, but he could not stop. He could only keep running outside. Even if a rock were to hit him now, it could take his life. There was only a tiny bit of blood left on the top of his head. It couldn't stop attacking. Long Quang slightly said, "If he remembers your words, there shouldn't be a problem. If you don't take your words seriously, then I'm afraid." He did not continue. In regards to Dragon Quang, Dong Qiankue's body had many weaknesses, but in regards to Fang Wanpeng, the only thing he could do was take Dong Qiankue's thigh. Just as Long Fei had said, there was a hidden disease on Dong Qiankue's thigh. As long as it hit his thigh, the power in Dong Qiankue's body would quickly dissipate. If he continuously attacked 3 times, Dong Qiankue would not be able to release this power for a short period of time. Long Fei frowned. "I hope he takes my words seriously." Long Fei was also worried. The words of a swordsman rank warrior. And it was even towards Powerhouse's words of guidance, who would take it to heart. Even if Fang Wanpeng had set his eyes on him, he did not take Long Fei's words to heart. As the old saying goes, "I have crossed more bridges than you have ever walked." Fang Wanpeng did not take Long Fei's words to heart. Seeing that Long Fei had left, his heart relaxed, and said, "Senior brother, how much is that fire essence? I will accompany you. After we return to the sect, I will pour tea for you and apologize." Accompany? Pour tea and apologize? Humph. Fang Wanpeng, what do you take me for? A slap to the face. You're too arrogant, who do you think you are? Dong Tiankui's eyes were filled with contempt. The pressure from his body continued to resonate towards Fang Wanpeng. Fang Wanpeng appeared to be struggling as his breathing became ragged. Senior brother, he really is a rare genius. The fact that he was able to kill Fire Bull King and even block 2 of your attacks is enough to prove that he is talented. This kind of talent is just what ancient antiquity needs. While he was speaking, the power aura on Fang Wanpeng's body clashed with the aura. Blocking Dong Tiankui's aura, he heavily breathed out a mouthful of air. Speaking of which, Dong Tiankui became even more furious and sneered. Genius? Talent? So what? This world has never lacked geniuses. There's only one less, not one more. Dong Tiankui snorted. Are there not many geniuses in ancient antiquity? A lot. But why did some of the geniuses just disappear? Because they don't know how to appreciate favors. So what if you're a genius? If he really is a genius, then he should have knelt on the ground and delivered the fire essence to me instead of acting so arrogantly in front of me. Just what kind of thing is he to act so arrogantly in front of me and block my attack? Humph. Fang Wanpeng, and you actually blocked me for a so-called genius in your eyes. You think you're that great? Who do you think you are? Dong Tiankui said fiercely. There was no lack of geniuses in the world. However, it was the kind of person who knew how to judge the situation. Only such people could survive. This was also a reality. Dong Tiankui sneered. You think you can protect him? Do you think you can keep it? A mere outer disciple of mine could crush him to death with a flick of my finger. Genius. Ha ha ha. He laughed loudly in disdain. At the same time, the aura around Dong Tiankui's body intensified as he looked at Fang Wanpeng and said, if you block me, then you will die here today. Grade 2 Fire Essence. Fire God, get out. Boom. His power released a violent rumbling sound. Dong Tiankui spat out a fire pellet with his mouth. It was scarlet red, and his power exploded out. A second-grade fire essence was far more powerful than a first-grade fire essence. In an instant, the temperature in the cave rose sharply, and the rocks in the cave instantly melted into magma, which continued to drip down. The ground was melting and cracking. Fang Wanpeng's defense was suddenly set on fire, his body releasing white qi. The surface of his skin turned red. The water in his body was evaporating rapidly. His face turned pale and his lips cracked. His entire body seemed to have withered. Crack. Hualala. The defensive shield shattered. Fang Wanpeng's eyes tensed up, all of his internal organs were burning, and the heat from the surface of his body crazily entered his body, causing him to be unable to endure the heat. A mouthful of blood sprayed out. When it hit the ground, it instantly evaporated into steam. Dong Tiankui sneered, you're the only one who is stopping me. You overestimate yourself. Boom. The power of the fire god came crashing down. Bam. Fang Wanpeng was immediately smashed to the ground and vomited another mouthful of blood. The temperature of the ground was too high. The moment his body fell to the ground, his entire body was set ablaze. Ah! Fang Wanpeng screamed. Dong Tiankui laughed coldly, as his body slowly descended to the ground. He walked in front of Fang Wanpeng, stepped on his head, and then, fiercely stomped on the ground. His face touched the ground that had turned into lava. Ah! Fang Wanpeng screamed again. Stop me. Chemph. You reckless fool. Dong Tiankui laughed coldly. And at that moment, Fang Wanpeng suddenly remembered what Long Fei had said. He couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't take it anymore. In less than 8 minutes, he had underestimated Dong Tiankui's cultivation. Sect leader of the Horcruxes Gate Hill. The cultivation resources he received far exceeded that of Fang Wanpeng's. Even with the same cultivation level, Fang Wanpeng was still not his opponent. It was impossible to cultivate a second-grade flame essence in 5,000 years, but Dong Tiankui had only used 100 years. The master of a sect. He could use cultivation resources whenever he wanted. Why would Fang Wanpeng fight with him? His head was stepped on, his face was burned, and his hair was burning with pain. The feeling of being stepped on the head made Fang Wanpeng feel very uncomfortable. But it was also at this time that he suddenly remembered what Long Fei had said before he left. Dong Qiankui's weakness is her thigh. What he said after that was constantly going through his mind. Weakness lies in the thigh, weakness lies in the thigh. On his thigh. On my thigh. Fang Wanpeng was furious. Boiling hot lava almost flowed into his eyes, causing his body to suddenly stand straight. Dong Qiankui sneered, and said, "What? Does it feel bad to lie on the ground and try to get up? Ha ha ha. Just die obediently here." His foot suddenly exerted a lot of force, wanting to push Fang Wanpeng down to the ground again, but in the blink of an eye, Fang Wanpeng's palm turned into a fist and locked onto Dong Qiankui's thigh. Bam! Dong Qiankui was not prepared for it. When the punch landed on his thigh, his pupils suddenly shrank, and his body secretly shook. He staggered backwards, almost falling to the ground. The intimidating aura around his body and the rank 2 flame elemental energy he was releasing were also diminishing rapidly. Fang Wanpeng stood up and took a deep breath. Looking at Dong Qiankui's panicked expression, he thought to himself, "That kid. You're right. His weakness is his thigh. I have to hit him 3 times in a row." Thinking of this, Fang Wanpeng endured the pain and stepped forward. Boom! Dong Qiankui had not stabilized himself when he saw Fang Wanpeng's figure disappear into the distance. He tightened the space between his brows as the energy within his body churned, wanting to release the energy that he had withdrawn earlier. But, bam! Fang Wanpeng punched his thigh again. Ah! Dong Qiankui let out a blood-curdling screech, his expression secretly changed, and his entire body fell to the ground, his legs trembling uncontrollably. His body shrank back. His face slowly turned pale. He used one hand to cover his thigh, staring at Fang Wanpeng who was standing in front of him, his face completely burnt up. He asked anxiously, "Junior brother Fang, what are you trying to do? Don't come over. You said that you would let that kid go. Don't worry, I won't look for trouble with him in the future." Dong Qiankui expressed his helplessness and urgency. Killing intent filled his heart. "Fang Wanpeng, just you wait for me to recuperate from my injuries and then I will definitely send you to hell." He had a hidden disease in his thigh. This was the first time he had burned himself while cultivating fire elemental energy, and it had also become his weakness. He did not know how Fang Wanpeng knew that, but he did not have as many thoughts as he did now. If he were to attack again, at least half of his cultivation would be crippled. 3 years. In 3 years, if he was unable to maintain his current cultivation level, he would lose his position as the sect head and be trampled over by people he had offended before. These were all secondary. The most important thing was that in the future, he would become a trash whose cultivation could not be broken through. This was the most fatal part. Just one more punch. Then it would be useless. Fang Wanpeng walked towards Dong Qiankui step by step, his face still bleeding. Looking at Dong Qiankui who was constantly retreating, he said, "Senior brother Dong, now you know to let him go? Now you know how to say that. What have you been doing?" His body was covered with wounds, and he was barely able to stand. But Dong Qiankui was in an even more miserable state. The power of his body was frantically shrinking, and the temperature of the cave also quickly dropped. Dong Qiankui continued, "I was wrong, junior brother Fang, I was really wrong. I can only blame myself for losing my mind because of that fire essence. My fault. I want you to apologize. When the time comes, I will also apologize to that outer court disciple and bring him directly into the inner court. I swear, I will." Dong Qiankui had a face full of confidence. Right now, he definitely could not let Fang Wanpeng hit him a 3rd time. Absolutely not. As long as he still had strength outside of his body, he would be able to recover to his peak state. He only needed to rest for a period of time. The words are so pleasing to the ears, just like the oriole bird. They sound so pleasing to the ear. Fang Wanpeng said with a cold smile. He stood in front of Dong Qiankui and said, "But, do you think I would believe that?" At this moment, Fang Wanpeng condescendingly stood in front of Dong Qiankui. Dong Qiankui trembled, directly kneeling on the ground and begging for forgiveness, and said, "Junior brother Fang, I was wrong. I beg you, give me a chance, I will never do this again." Didn't he want the fire element? I will give him my second-grade fire essence. I will compensate you with a divine weapon, and I will treat all your injuries as well. I swear, if I can't do it, then I will be struck by lightning by the heavens. Junior brother Fang, we entered the ancient antiquity in the same year. We have known each other for so many years. Are you really going to kill me? Did you do it? We are senior brother S of the same sect. Dong Qiankue kept on talking. He understood Fang Wampeng's personality, and his heart was very soft. Indeed. When Dong Qiankue mentioned that they were senior brother S of the same sect, his heart was indeed moved slightly, and his heart softened. He couldn't move. However, just as he was hesitating, Dong Qiankue's body suddenly erupted, the flames on his body fiercely ignited, he roared, "Die!" Using his full strength, he used the last bit of his strength. Just as the flames on his body was about to devour Fang Wampeng suddenly kicked him. It swept onto Dong Qiankue's thigh. Boom! Dong Qiankue's body exploded outwards as the flames released from his body rapidly retracted back into his body. The surrounding flames all surged into his body at the same time. Ah! Ah! He let out a pig-slaughtering howl, as if his entire being was minced into a meat paste, and was in so much pain that he wished he were dead. A flame that looked like a picture pattern was slowly covering his entire body. Dong Qiankue stared at Fang Wampeng and said, "Fang Wampeng, I will kill you, I will kill." Standing up, he wanted to rush towards Fang Wampeng. However, as soon as he took his first step, his body sank to the ground. He became completely terrified. My cultivation level, my cultivation realm of the 6th stage of King Swordsman, No. I won't, my cultivation won't disappear, Crazy. At this moment, the aura of the warriors on Dong Qiankue's body disappeared, and he could not even stand up. He had become a piece of trash. My cultivation base, my fleshly body. Dong Qiankue screamed in pain, his eyes looked like they were about to spurt blood as he looked at Fang Wampeng, and roared, "I will kill you, I will definitely kill you." Fang Wampeng did not attack again, allowing him to shout and speak. Dong Qiankue had already become a piece of trash and his cultivation had completely disappeared. Even if he recovered well, it would still take a few years for him to recover, and he could only recover half of his strength, and he would never be able to break through. In other words, Dong Qiankue was no longer a person of his world, and had already been removed from their world. Fang Wampeng said indifferently, "Senior brother Dong, take care of yourself." Finished. He looked at the passageway above his head, and his breathing calmed down a little. He then abruptly flew out. "Don't go. Shidi Fang, don't go. Don't leave me behind. I beg of you. I was wrong, I really was wrong, I don't dare to do it again, please don't leave me behind." Dong Qiankue panicked even more when he saw that Fang Wampeng was about to leave. The only way out was through the volcanic crater, but he was like a cripple right now, unable to fly out. If Fang Wampeng left, he would have to wait for death. Fang Wampeng did not turn back. With a glare, he stepped forward and slowly disappeared into the passage. Actually, he himself was severely injured. His face was burned and his internal injuries were severe. He wouldn't be able to recover even after 3 to 5 years. With his current strength, even if he brought along Dong Qiankue, he wouldn't be able to do so. He didn't think of taking Dong Qiankue out either. Let him fend for himself. Seeing Fang Wampeng disappear, Dong Qiankue panicked even more and got even more irascible. "Don't go, don't leave me behind. Shidi Fang. Fang Wampeng, F***CK your ancestor. If I can get out, I'll kill you. I swear to God. You and that outer court trash brat, I will definitely make you regret being born into this world. Someone, come. Is there anyone here? Hurry up and save me." Dong Qiankue shouted hysterically, the entire cave only having his own echoes. Suddenly, gulp, gulp. The magma pool, which was originally silent, suddenly began to boil. It continued to emit hot steam, and the scarlet-red magma began to gush out. The volcano was about to erupt. Seeing that, Dong Tiankui's pupils tightened, and his body anxiously retreated, leaning on a corner, his back leaning on a rock, his entire back instantly releasing white smoke. The pain was so intense that he screamed again. His clothes were torn apart. Magma continued to flow out of the magma. This was the lava that came from the underground fire vein. Just now, the violent collision sounds that came from underground should have blocked off the path of flow of the underground fire vein. It was only because the underground fire vein was blocked that it began surging upwards. Gulp. Gulp. The lava sprung out crazily. Dong Tiankue stared at the gigantic magma pit, his fists clenched tightly. I do not want to die, I do not want to die. His eyes were trembling. However, finally, he gritted his teeth and bellowed, ah! Suddenly, it was as if he had gone insane, running into the magma pool with all his might. Gulp. Yi Zichen jumped into the magma pool and was quickly engulfed by it. And then there was Long Fei. Not long after he left, he met the 4-5 Elements brothers who had entered the cave to search for him. Boss, you finally came out. Boss, your injuries. Let's not talk too much for now. Hold on to me and quickly get out. The temperature of this mountain is getting higher and higher, and it might cause a volcano to erupt. Yi Zichen spoke in a hurry. Everyone tensed up. 2 of them held on to Long Fei and ran out anxiously. Long Fei's heart sank. I wonder if that senior has escaped yet. Dong Tiankue, right? I, your father, will remember this grudge. If I can't get you the next time we meet, I will have your surname. Long Fei said fiercely. If it wasn't for him dealing with the Fire Bull King first, he would have definitely crippled Dong Tiankue with the 3-rate ancient dragon body. Long Fei was currently very worried about Fang Wanpeng. He was the one who saved her. I must repay this favor in the future when I get the chance. Long Fei said silently. Hurry, we're almost at the exit of the cave. Once we leave the cave, everything will be fine. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The temperature in the cave grew higher and higher, as if it was in the middle of a flame. As long as he left the cave, everything would be fine. Looking at the light outside the cave, everyone became excited. Long Fei secretly relaxed. I'm finally out. It's also fortunate that I accepted the brothers of 5 elements. Otherwise, based on my current situation, I probably wouldn't be able to get out. His physical body was too weak now. His body was severely injured. He needed time to recover, and it would be best if he could cultivate in the refined space for a breakthrough and recover in an instant. Otherwise, it would take a long time to recover. He went out. Ha ha ha. We're out. Ha ha ha. He was getting closer and closer to the cave entrance. The exit was right in front of him. At the cave entrance, 2 middle-aged men wearing tight clothes were leaning against the sides of the cave. Their eyes were cold and they emitted a strong killing intent. The 2 of them looked at each other, and the corner of their mouths curled into a sneer. It's out. That kid actually didn't die. That's for the best. It's his honor to die at our hands. Heh heh. Their eyes turned sinister as their killing intent intensified. Come out. Earth let out an excited cry. He took a step out of the cave. Mu also laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. It was almost burnt dry inside. Finally, it came out. No, he finished. Long Fei's expression suddenly sank, and said with a heavy voice, be careful. He had a special ability to sense killing intent. It had nothing to do with his current injuries. But, too slow. Without waiting for him to finish, peng, peng, after 2 heavy blows, the earth and wood both caved in. Their bodies flew directly into the cave and collided with the wall, causing them to spit out a mouthful of blood. Phut! Puff! His face instantly turned pale. The 2 of them fell to the ground, unable to get up. Suddenly attacked. Fire and Jin were shocked. It's Hu Liao's men? Or? Long Fei's expression tensed up. His heart was a little angry. F***ck. Hua and Jin were about to rush out, but were stopped by Long Fei. Don't go out. Jin shouted loudly, Hu Liehua, your ancestor. There was no response from outside. Long Fei said lightly, they are not Hu Liehua's people, It should be an assassin. It should be targeting me. The aura on Hu Liehua's body was simply not this strong. Moreover, the most important thing was their killing intent. They were assassins. They were killers. They were killers. Their auras were completely different from ordinary martial artists' auras. This kind of cold killing intent was not something that could be produced by killing a few people. Rather, it was something that could be produced by killing a lot of people. It was very obvious that they were neither Hu Liehua nor ancient antiquities disciples. They were the killers from an assassination organization. Moreover, his level was not low. Assassins who could enter the ancient antiquities territory were definitely not simple. Someone must have arranged it. One could imagine the status of the person who was capable of making such arrangements. Ha ha ha. After Long Fei finished speaking, the two people standing at the entrance of the cave stepped forward and laughed coldly. Smart. Your analysis is very accurate. You're right, we are killers. Just to take your life. A middle-aged man laughed coldly. He stared at Long Fei who was in the cave and said, I never thought that you would still be able to come out alive. I thought you were going to die inside. Jin said loudly, who sent you here? Ha ha ha. Childish. A man laughed. How could an assassin say such a thing? Long Fei said in a bland voice, I don't care who sent you here, but I will pay double the price for whatever that person offered. Heh. A man was slightly surprised and asked, double the price? Heh heh. Kid, it seems that you are very rich. Long Fei said, if you tell us to leave, you can get the money immediately. The man smiled and said, since you said that, then you should have all your money with you. Long Fei's eyes darkened, your sister. The man laughed. That's even better. I didn't expect to be able to catch rabbits and graze them. Ha ha ha. All right. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Obediently come out and accept your death. This way, your death will be more comfortable. The man was sure to eat Long Fei. The four of them had low cultivation bases, so they were not a threat at all. The only thing was their goal. Before accepting this mission, they had also understood Long Fei to a certain degree. But now, even if it was powerful, it was still a cripple. With his identity severely injured, even if he possessed incredible strength, it wouldn't be of any use. Thus, they had completed this mission. Jin raged, and said in a heavy voice, you want to kill my big brother? Then you guys have to get past me first. After which, he charged out. Don't go. Halt. Long Fei shouted, but it was completely useless. The 4-5 Elements brothers were all furious and impulsive. Moreover, they recognized Long Fei as their boss, and now that their boss was in trouble, they wouldn't care about anything, including their own lives. Only trash like you? Humph. A man's body sank. The moment Jin rushed forward, he threw a kick at him. Bam! A kick landed on Jin's abdomen, knocking him to the ground. He stepped on Jin's head again and said with a smile, trash. He pressed down heavily. After being firmly stepped on, Jin was completely unable to move. The other man laughed, it's better not to struggle useless. Brat, you should just obediently kneel down and crawl out to die. Our target is you. If you die, they will live. We won't kill targets that have no value, let alone these trash. The man laughed. The 4-5 Elements brothers were too useless. Not to mention a single move, even a finger could deal with them. Hearing the words trash, the 4-5 Elements brothers felt extremely uncomfortable. They were used to hearing it in the past, but now, they were in front of Long Fei. They felt very uncomfortable. A frantic struggle. However, the man heavily kicked, call me again, Phut. A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. His face paled and he clenched his fists tightly. In his heart, he hated himself for his weakness. However, there was nothing he could do. The 4-5 Elemental brothers were all the same. It was hard, very hard. The killer laughed and said, you want to admit that you are trash, and you still call me that. Scream, scream again. I want to see what kind of tricks you can come up with. Bah. Trash. A mouthful of phlegm was spat on Jin's head. He stomped hard on the ground, crushing Jin with his oppressive aura. King was struggling. His body was in severe pain, but he didn't make a sound. Long Fei looked into his eyes, his fists could not help but tighten, and said solemnly, "Those who touch my brother, die." Ha ha ha. The one who touched your brother will die. That's interesting. I'd like to see how I died. Finished. He ruthlessly stepped on Jin and loudly laughed. Come, kill me. I want to see how trash like you will kill me. Ha ha ha. You want to kill someone in your current condition? Are you trying to scare me to death? Ha ha ha. The two of them laughed crazily. They were amused by Long Fei's words. In Long Fei's current state, not to mention killing, he would even find it hard to walk. However, his eyes were cold and his heart roared, three-rate dragon body. Open it for me. He wanted to forcefully unleash the power of the three-rate dragon body. He couldn't allow his brother to be insulted like this, and there was nothing he could do. However, before the three-rate dragon body was activated, his body could not withstand the power of the third level of body. Even if he forced it open, it would be useless. Long Kwong also heavily said, "Don't be impulsive. Master, your current physical body is completely insufficient. Don't act recklessly." Long Kwong was extremely worried. Long Fei didn't care and roared out in his heart, "Open the three-rate dragon body for me." Ah! He used all of his strength and struck out heavily. His body sank to the ground and, unable to withstand the pressure, he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Boss. Long Fei's face turned as pale as paper. Wow. Is this a failure to stimulate my strength and cause me to vomit blood? Isn't this too overpowered? Ha ha ha. He's really scaring me to death. Tell me, why are you so awesome? Ha ha ha. The two mocked each other. It was also at this time. Rumble. 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 A volcano erupted. Moreover, a massive heat wave swept out from the depths of the cave. The depths of the cave had turned red, and it seemed as if magma would gush out at any moment. Fire frowned, then said, "Boss, magma." The two assassins were shocked as well. They looked at the red light in the depths of the cave and started laughing. It seems like we don't even need to do anything, ha ha ha. They only needed to guard the cave entrance and prevent Long Fei and the others from coming out. Being covered by the magma like this, they definitely wouldn't be able to survive. It was extremely urgent. It was also at this time. A drop of Spirit Blood's blood suddenly condensed in the center of Long Fei's palm. Long Kwong was stunned. "Master, you." Ah! Long Fei roared, the clothes on his body flapped, a powerful force burst out crazily, his hair fluttered, power roared. F*CKU. Spirit Blood stimulation. Three-rate dragon body, open, rumble. There was a rich wolf in the front, and a fierce tiger in the back. There was a rich wolf in the front, and a fierce tiger in the back. Long Fei was still trapped in a desperate situation. At this point, he had no other choice. Coupled with the fact that his own brother was beaten up, he would be unable to control the primal rage within his body. Without considering the consequences, Long Fei wanted to forcefully activate it. "Master, your body is currently very weak. If you were to forcefully open the dragon's body, it would be too dangerous. Give up. I can think of something. A method like yours that Spirit Blood uses is even worse, Master." "Master," Long Kwong kept saying. The two assassins at the door also laughed. "Ha ha ha. You're still angry? Just you pieces of trash want to overturn the heavens? Brat, I thought you were very strong, but now it seems like you're just a pile of shit, ha ha ha." The two of them laughed out loud. "Open for me." Long Fei ignored everything. He ate everything, but he did not suffer any losses. What was the point of living with grievance? Boom. An explosive sound came from Long Fei's body, followed by a dragon's roar. Long Kwong's heart skipped a beat. We're finished. This time we're really going to. He was very worried. He was exceptionally worried. To even open ancient dragon body in this kind of situation, He was risking his life. No, I must protect my master. Dragon Kwong's brain began to spin and fly up. Rumble. Long Fei's body erupted with power. He raised his two eyes slightly, and stared at the two killers with his gold dragon eyes. A light flashed through them. The two of them were instantly stunned. At this moment, his heart stopped beating, and he felt as if he had died. It was extremely hard to bear. Long Fei took a light step forward. Whoever touched my brother. As soon as he finished. Boom. Long Fei's body disappeared. In the next second, the heads of the two assassins at the entrance of the cave flew up as blood spurted out like a fountain. Half of their bodies were still standing in the same spot as if they had not reacted yet. Instant kill. Long Fei stood behind them as the images of dragons entered his body one after another. Poochie. He spat out a mouthful of black blood. Long Fei's body sank, and he became unsteady on his feet, almost falling to the ground. He glanced at the killer's head on the ground and shouted, "Die!" It was also at this time. The system sounded out. Ding, ding. However, Long Fei had no time to listen for anything. His eyes blacked out and he fainted. "Master!" Long Kwong suddenly shouted. The 4-5 Elements brothers also charged forward. "Boss, boss, boss." It was just that. Long Fei couldn't hear anything. Blood continued to ooze out from his body, and he was unable to control his entire body. Spirit blood stimulating technique gave him a few seconds of 3-rate dragon body time, but these few seconds were exceptionally fatal to Long Fei's severely injured body. His body could not withstand it at all, let alone Spirit blood's method of stimulation. Moreover, when Black and White were still around, they kept reminding him not to use Spirit blood's great stimulation techniques. Otherwise, it would be harder and harder to continue on the road ahead. With Long Fei's fiery temper, he could bear it for a bit, could endure it for a second time, but definitely not for a third time. Return to the sect. Quick, bring him back to the sect. The 4 of them reacted quickly. The 4 of them could do nothing. The moment they saw Long Fei fall to the ground, their hearts became incomparably uncomfortable and they also felt a heavy tightening within. What is the boss? That was it. Long Fei treated them as brothers, real brothers. To protect them. They couldn't tell what they were feeling in their hearts, and now, they only wanted Long Fei to live. Ancient Antiquity. Main Hall, Great Clan Elder's Courtyard. It was like this when I got the stone. There's no special source energy inside. Liu Luoshi said. The Great Elder nodded and asked, I heard that this mission was completed by 3 people, and you even brought 2 outer sect disciples in. Did they come in contact with this stone before you? He wanted to know where the origin energy in the stone had gone to. This stone had no use whatsoever. Its greatest use was the crystal core, which was the source stone. Liu Luoshi revealed a serious look, shook his head, and said, they were bullied by people from the outer sect, and I coincidentally helped them. They wanted to follow me to see the world, that's why I brought them. They entered the Nantian city and did nothing. I just told them to follow. They didn't even touch this rock. It's impossible for them to survive in there with their cultivation. I wouldn't let them touch such an important thing. Liu Luoshi was very serious. She was concealing it. She didn't know why the Great Clan Elder would care about this, but she had to protect Long Fei well. The Great Elder nodded and said indifferently, Is that so? I know. Thank you for coming here. As he spoke, the Great Elder carefully sized up Liu Luoshi. A satisfied smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he said, Luoshi, there's another matter I've asked you to come over to. Liu Luoshi said, What is it, Great Clan Elder? Feel free to instruct me. The Great Elder smiled and said, This matter is not related to the sect, but your personal matter. Ling Yuan's gaze tensed up. Liu Luoshi also curiously asked, My private affairs? The Great Clan Elder said, Do you want to enter the divine space? Liu Luoshi's eyes released a ray of light. Divine space, upper world. This was the dream of any martial artist. Who wouldn't yearn for it? Liu Luoshi was the same as well. She was also continuously working hard to hope that she would be able to enter the divine world one day, because Long Zhanting was right inside the divine space. She had wanted to work hard to find the Long family at that time. Although she had found Long Fei now, the thirst in her heart had not weakened. She had to become stronger so that she could better help Long Fei. Liu Luoshi nodded his head and said, "The divine space is a place every martial artist yearns for. I naturally want to go as well, it's just that my cultivation, talent does not meet the requirements, and I will definitely not win in the selection battle." She knew this very well. However, Liu Luoshi did not think too much, and continued, "If the great clan elder was willing to give me this chance, I would definitely give my all, and not disappoint the great clan elder." The great elder smiled and said, "It's very rare for you to recognize yourself. With your talent and cultivation, if you were to participate in the selection battle, you naturally wouldn't have any advantages. You have another advantage that others don't have, an advantage that allows you to have an advantage that others can't have." Liu Luoshi was slightly stunned, and said, "Great elder, I didn't understand." The great elder smiled and said, "You will understand when the time comes." Ha ha ha. Liu Luoshi not only had his own advantages, but also, it was still his advantage. He really did not think that a divine space powerhouse could fancy mortal women. This should be the ancient antiquity's good fortune, and also be his opportunity. So fast. So fast. In just a single day, I've already broken through to the 3rd level. The reverse cultivation that boss said is too amazing. In the yard, Zhao Dahan said excitedly. The energy aura on his body was stronger, he looked like a big boulder. "Sister Bing Bing, hasn't second brother come out yet?" Phoenix took a glance at Bailey Tianhai's room, shook her head and said, "No, but I heard an excited sound from him. He probably broke through quite a few levels as well." Zhao Dahan said excitedly, "Second brother is indeed second brother, as long as I give him some pointers, he will be able to comprehend it instantly." "All right. I'm full. I also need to speed up. I can't let big brother down." Zhao Dahan swallowed a few big bun into his mouth and then walked into the room. In the yard, Phoenix's mind was in a state of unease. What happened to me? Why does it feel like something is going to happen every day? What's going on? Did something happen in Phoenix Valley? Or? Phoenix pouted and then, her eyebrows tightened. "It's my honey." Immediately, the foreboding in his heart grew even stronger. She did not bother to explain to Bailey Tianhai as she walked out of the courtyard. Ancient Antiquity, Outer Sect. In the Spirit-Controlling Pavilion. This was a place that specialized in treating injured disciples. At this moment, the 4 brothers knelt on the ground and kowtowed non-stop. "Elder, I beg of you, please save our boss. Anything you want us to do. Even if you want my life, I'll give it to you. Please. Please." The 4 of them kowtowed, begging an elder standing on the stairs. Elder's eyes were cold as he coldly glanced at them. "We can save them, but first pay the money. 100 holy source stones." The other 4 were stunned. "Elder, why is it that we have to pay so much for the treatment?" The Spirit-Controlling Pavilion was a special service for outer sect disciples. "No need to spend money." With a sneer, the elder spoke, "They are them, you are all of you. You can only use the spiritual medicines of the sect in the right place. What is your cultivation level? The one lying on the ground is the swordsman rank, and you guys are only at the sword faction realm. Giving you the spirit medicine is also a waste. Why not save some for the sect?" After which, the elder sneered coldly. Long before they came to the ruling pavilion, he had received the news. Could not treat Long Fei. Thus, he blocked the door and did not even let the brothers of 5 elements in through the door. The disciples of the 5S could only kneel on the ground and beg for help, then. It was useless. The surrounding crowd couldn't help but laugh. "Ha ha ha. You're right, how can we waste resources on trash? Trash should die sooner. I really wonder how you 2 managed to sneak into the ancient antiquity. Tell me, do you still have any reason to live? Hurry up and dig a hole and bury him. With Jen Shan's cultivation, you still have the nerve to come here and ask for elixirs?" The mocking laughter continued. This was the world. If you are weak, even breathing is wrong. Just like the poverty of his previous life, No matter how right you are, it is still wrong. The strong preyed on the weak. No matter what the weak did, they would always be mocked. Brothers of 5 elements felt very bad in his heart. Elder, I beg of you, I am willing to be your slave for the rest of my life. We 4 brothers are all willing. Please. There was nothing they could do but beg. However, the more they are like this, the more disdain there is in the elder's eyes. What do I need you 4 pieces of trash for? Is it a joke to bring it out with you? It's fine if you're trash, but you're even bringing along a half-dead trash to ask for help. What can this kind of trash do even if he's revived? Isn't it just wasting air, wasting food, and wasting the sect's resources? Scram, stop blocking here. As soon as the elder finished speaking, the crowd immediately burst into cheers. Did you hear that? I told you to scram. Don't stand in the way of others. Get lost, ancient antiquity doesn't need trash. You 5 are from the trash group, ha ha ha. The elder sneered and said to the gatekeeper, they are not allowed to take even half a step into the spirit pavilion. And then, flinging his sleeves, he walked into the lounge. The 2 disciples looked at the 4 of them and said, did you hear that? If you don't scram, then don't blame us for being impolite. The 4 of them had hatred in their eyes. Fire picked up Long Fei, looked at the pale Jin, and asked, what do we do now? Jin Zhong said, the boss is willing to sacrifice his life to save us. Even if we have to sacrifice our lives, we have to save him. Go to master. And then, the 4 of them carried Long Fei and rushed to another place. Not long later, bam! The fire was sent flying with a kick and landed heavily on the ground. You 4 trash still dare to come here? Master's face has been completely thrown away by you guys. Back then, when Master left you behind, what about you? His cultivation had not improved at all in the past few years, and his master had always been mocked by others. Now he still dared to bring an even more useless person here to ask for help. You all are shameless, but Master is even more shameless. Get lost. The further the better. It's best if we don't see you again. He was directly driven out. However, the 4 of them still did not give up. Elder, please save our boss. Bam! He was kicked out again. Elder, I'm begging you, anything you want us to do is fine, please save him. Anything is fine, right? All of you can go die now. Ha ha ha. My spiritual medicine will not save trash, nor will it save the best of you trash. Scram. As far away as possible. Can you guys still be saved? So what if he saved her? Does trash still need to live? Scram. If you dare to take another step forward, I will break your legs. He begged along the way, but was chased out the whole way. Upon seeing the elder, he immediately knelt and kowtowed. They did not feel that they were very lowly. The 5 Elements brothers were like beggars. They had been begging the entire time, but no one took them seriously, and no one helped them. Because it was weak. Because it was useless. All these years, they had been mocked by others. The bitterness in their hearts had always been hidden away. It was very hard. But for Long Fei, they did not feel humiliated, even when their faces were stepped on. From afternoon until nightfall. Their knees were broken and their heads were cracked. Everyone was injured. But no one pitied them. He was like an orphan who had been abandoned by the entire world. They saw that Long Fei's face was pale white, all of the qi in his body was flowing like silk, their fists were clenched tightly, their nails digging into his flesh, and fresh blood flowed down. His heart was shouting and roaring. The feeling of helplessness was too unbearable. What can we do? What can we do? We are just a bunch of trash, ah. The fire broke down, and he began to cry loudly. All the elders of the outer court begged once, but no one helped them, not even one was willing to give them a glance. This was the weak. At this time, a slender figure walked over from not too far away. Her footsteps were a little floating, and the moment she saw Long Fei, she pounced over. Phoenix pounced forward, but when she saw Long Fei lying on the ground, her entire body covered in blood, she did not pounce down, but instead, her expression became extremely calm. Phoenix pounced forward, but when she saw Long Fei lying on the ground, her entire body covered in blood, she did not pounce down, but instead, her expression became extremely calm. It was as if he had become a completely different person. The 4-5 elemental brothers stared at the phoenix in a daze. Phoenix did not ask any further. She directly said, "Lift him up and follow me. Hurry up." Just one sentence. The aura was completely different. She used to be one of those cute and adorable little elves, but now she had completely become a mature and tyrannical CEO. Her body was emitting the aura of someone with a high position. It was completely different from before. The 4-5 element brothers were also shocked by the aura emitted from her body. Almost without asking for the reason, they immediately followed the phoenix as they lifted Long Fei up. Phoenix walked very quickly. Her steps were brisk and she carried the wind with her. Soon, he returned to the small courtyard. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan were still cultivating. They did not know that the phoenix had returned. Take them into the room and wait in the yard. This was the second time that Phoenix had spoken. He spoke in a commanding tone. The 4 of them carried Long Fei into the room and couldn't help but ask, Can you save him? The auras were the same as usual. After all, Phoenix was only a girl that was around 10 years old. What could she do at this age? Phoenix did not reply. Instead, she said, "You guys wait outside. I did not say that you should leave. You are not allowed to." Understood? Yes, I understand. Phoenix's cold gaze swept over the 4 of them, taking note of their appearances. After which, she turned around and entered the room. Her right hand gently moved. Space control. He closed the door. Phoenix walked to Long Fei's side as tears uncontrollably flowed down uncontrollably. "My honey. Why are you so injured? Don't worry, I'll save you. I will definitely save you. I'll get you back." The moment she saw Long Fei being so heavily injured, it was as if her heart was pierced by a steel needle. The phoenix said with a soft voice, "Aunt said that this pellet has the power to revive the dead. My honey, this pellet will definitely be able to save you. It will definitely be able to do so." He put it into Long Fei's mouth. A warm current pressed against Long Fei's chest from his palm, catalyzing the medicinal power of the pill. After the pill melted, a strong force entered Long Fei's body. It healed crazily. However, Long Fei's face was still pale white. The injuries on his entire body had not improved at all, and he was still in a coma, heavily injured. Long Quang let out a heavy breath. Phoenix Nirvana pills. A pellet of the divine sovereign realm of the divine space. Fortunately, she has this pill, and can protect Master's heart. However, the Dragon Quang was very worried. He was very clear about Long Fei's current condition since he was living in Long Fei's body. From the moment he came out of the Fire Bull Valley until now, it was his power that had protected Long Fei's heart and mind from being corroded by death. If not for him, Long Fei would already be a 4-man team. His body was severely injured, and in that situation, he had forcefully used spirit blood stimulating method to activate the power of the ancient dragon body, causing his body to explode. This was also him. If it was anyone else, their muscles and veins would have long been shattered into pieces. As the Nirvana pill entered his body, a strong force protected Long Fei. However, Long Fei's injuries were too heavy, and a Nirvana pill could only replace the protection of the Dragon Quang. It could only protect Long Fei's mind, consciousness, and soul from being corroded by death and not being able to recover. There's still a way. There must be a way. Dragon Quang's brain began to spin and fly up. The more he thought about it, the calmer he had to be. When the phoenix saw that Long Fei did not improve at all, she took out another Nirvana pill with tears all over her face and said, "My honey, I will definitely save you. I definitely will." Another Nirvana pill entered his body. Long Quang was ecstatic. Another Nirvana pill? That girl actually has 2 Nirvana pills on her body. What kind of person is she? Even in the divine space world, Nirvana pills were extremely precious. This was a pill forged by the Phoenix race with the power of Nirvana. It was extremely precious. To be healed by the power of Nirvana, to have the power to revive the dead. As long as he had a breath, he could be saved. It's just that Long Fei was a little special now. Long Quang did not have the time to think about Phoenix's identity. He had to make good use of the strength of the Nirvana pills. Otherwise, it would only be a waste. The power of the Nirvana pills was being controlled by Long Quang. The space between Long Quang's eyebrows tightened and the Nirvana force began to circulate between his hands. He thought to himself, I don't care about this anymore. I have no choice but to take a risk. Suddenly, a voice rang out, Myriad Soul's secret art. His physical body has been reborn. Recast. Boom. The secret art of 10,000 souls was a powerful secret art that could put one to death. Once used, this secret art had no way of turning back. Success, living, failure. Otherwise, all of his previous efforts would have been in vain and Long Fei would not have been able to live. Long Quang couldn't find any other way. He could only use this ancient secret technique. Furthermore, the power of the Nirvana pills should be able to support the movement of the secret arts. Long Quang secretly thought, it should be possible, it should be possible. He wasn't confident either. This was because even in the ancient times, he had never used such a secret technique. This time, it was a last resort, and there was no other way. The power of the Nirvana pellet exploded out, forming a number of souls which poured into Long Fei's limbs and bones. Long Fei's body also trembled slightly. His limbs and bones emitted a light sound. It was like the sound of a bamboo shoot popping out of the ground after a rain. Dragon Quang firmly grasped it and did not let go of even a single bit of its power. He poured all of it into Long Fei's body and all of the soul energy was continuously transforming Long Fei's body. It was just that. The serious injury Long Fei suffered far exceeded his expectations. Moreover, the toughness of his body had also exceeded his expectations. The more powerful the body, the more severe the injuries, the more energy would be needed to support the 10,000 soul reformation secret art. After a few sounds, Long Fei's body fell into silence again. Long Quang's heart tightened. I made a miscalculation. Master's body is way beyond my expectations, this time. If the energy did not flow into Long Fei's body, when the energy ruptured and he failed to execute the secret method of 10,000 souls, it would mean that Long Fei's body would not succeed in transforming and would directly devour him. There was no chance of survival. I still have more Nirvana pills. I still have. Phoenix held Long Fei and placed the third Nirvana pill into Long Fei's mouth. She held Long Fei with both hands and held him tightly in her embrace as she sobbed softly, My honey, don't leave me, don't leave me. She had seen too many farewells. This kind of life and death separation was Phoenix's greatest injury. It was her greatest weakness. When she thought of the past, her body couldn't help but tremble uncontrollably. Phoenix was afraid of this parting. Phoenix was afraid of this parting. When Long Quang felt the energy of the third Nirvana pill entering Long Fei's body, he became extremely excited. Another one? This. Long Quang's heart shook, and he relaxed a bit. Thank you, Lord. There's still a chance. Master, I will definitely save you. Even in his era, Nirvana pills were incomparably precious. They could be said to be the most precious treasure of the Phoenix race. A little girl carrying so many Nirvana pills on her body caused him to be extremely shocked. Long Quang didn't have time to think, he couldn't waste a second right now. Any second would determine Long Fei's life. Once again, he used the power of rebirth from the Nirvana pills and channeled it into Long Fei's body. Boom. Boom. His limbs and bones began to buzz. Long Fei's body spasmed. His face was filled with pain. His limbs and bones were undergoing a transformation. The process of rebirth was extremely difficult. The pain was indescribable, as if new bones had grown out of his bones. Long Quang growled, Master, you must endure it. If you do, then your strength, your body can directly step into the third cycle. You have to hold on. Long Quang used all his strength so that he wouldn't waste the slightest bit of his Nirvana pill's energy. A few minutes later, the power of the Nirvana pellet slowly entered Long Fei's body, bit by bit, before it was quickly consumed. A few minutes later, the power of the Nirvana pellet in Long Fei's body was once again completely used up. The myriad soul's secret technique continued. It was not complete. Long Fei's flesh body was not completely reconstructed. 3 pills were still not enough. Long Quang panicked a little. How can this be? That's impossible. How can Master's body be this strong? What did Master experience before? What in the world? Long Quang was in a daze. Under normal circumstances, 1 Nirvana pill would be sufficient for one to execute the 10,000 spirit method. Even if Long Fei's body was heavily injured, 2 of them would be enough. But 3 Nirvana pills entering his body was still not enough. This was not the reason for the serious injuries to his body, but rather, the strength of his body was beyond his expectations. This was related to Long Fei's experience. Too many things had happened in the past. Long Fei had clenched his teeth and endured it every single time. His body, his fearless will, his mind, his sea of consciousness, and that kind of mental energy were all a type of physical strength. These were not calculated by Long Quang. Because of this, the 3 Nirvana pills entered Long Fei's body, but the myriad soul's secret technique was still not completed. Long Quang panted heavily. Do you still have more Nirvana pills? Anything else? At this time, Phoenix did not hear his words. Phoenix looked at Long Fei and her body spasmed. Not knowing what happened, she didn't dare to move recklessly. She looked at Long Fei and asked, "My honey, what's wrong? You could not withstand the strength of the Nirvana pills?" His aunt had said that the mortal world's people could not withstand the power of the Nirvana pills. Just now, she had said 3 consecutive times. Is it beyond what you can bear? Nirvana pills possessed an incomparably huge amount of power. But if this pill did not have a superdivine body, even the mortal realm's strongest emperor swordsman would not be able to withstand it. Phoenix was scared. Furthermore, she only had 3 Nirvana pills on her. Long Fei's pained expression made the Phoenix panic. She only wanted to save Long Fei and did not think that the power of the Nirvana pills was too strong. Ordinary people simply could not withstand it. All of a sudden, Phoenix's heart began to thump with worry. "My honey, it's my fault. I shouldn't have let you consume so many Nirvana pills, it's my fault." Woo-woo. Phoenix began to cry. Long Quang shouted crazily inside Long Fei's body. "Give me another, quick, quick, and another Nirvana pill. Hurry up." He was even more anxious than Phoenix. Because the process of releasing the secret technique could not stop. If it stopped for too long, all the previous work would go down the drain, and not only would the caster be severely injured, Long Fei would directly die. The current Long Fei was in an extremely dangerous state. Taking a step back meant death. Even if he was a step too slow, he would still die. Only forward. However, this advancement required a powerful force to support it. Without the strength to support it, it was all a waste. At this moment, Long Quang was like an ant on a hot pan, his heart burning with anxiety. What do we do? What do we do? Ooh! Long Fei's body caved in, black blood flowing out of the corner of his mouth. Long Quang could feel the power of the myriad soul's secret art dissipating. The loss of power could not support the circulation of the myriad soul's secret art, and after a long time, Long Fei's body would quickly enter the state of death. At that time, even if the great Rudra Golden Immortal came, it wouldn't be of any use. Long Quang started to worry. His brain felt like it was about to explode, and he had no idea what to do. Phoenix was just as anxious as him. Seeing Long Fei's black blood flowing out of his mouth, her face immediately paled, not knowing what to do. My honey. Woo woo woo. What should I do? What should we do? What do I do?" Phoenix's face turned pale and she became flustered. Suddenly, Phoenix's eyes moved slightly. "Phoenix sacred blood. My blood. My blood can save people. Yes, yes, yes. Aunt said that my blood is especially precious, and that it is the most precious and unique blood of the Phoenix race. Phoenix King blood." Phoenix did not know what to do, but she had to do something. Nirvana pills were her most precious pills. She had given 3 of them to Long Fei without even thinking about it, and now that she saw Long Fei spitting blood, she did not think too much about it. He cut his own palm, causing bright red blood to gush out. Phoenix brought her palm to Long Fei's mouth and said, "My honey, wake up, hurry up." It was also at this time. Dragon Kwong was extremely shocked. Phoenix King blood. Oh my god. It's actually a Phoenix King blood, a Phoenix King blood that rarely appears in the Phoenix race even in 100,000 years. This girl. It's really incredible. Can I use my strength this time? Long Kwong was extremely surprised. He was unable to describe the shock in his heart, because Phoenix King blood were truly too rare. In the entire ancient world, it could be said that Phoenix King blood were ranked in the top 3. It was no wonder that the first time he saw Phoenix, he said that he did not need to cultivate to break through. This kind of blood vein was a born powerhouse, they didn't need to cultivate at all. The key was, the Phoenix also had an 8-cycle supergod body. She could only use one word to describe it, terrifying to such an extent. Dragon Kwong clenched his fists tightly, and controlled the Phoenix King blood to flow into Long Fei's body. This time, Dragon Kwong had completely let go of his hold, and said with an excited face, "Master, just you wait. If you can't do it this time, then I'll just die." The moment the Phoenix King blood entered Long Fei's body, the power of the 8 revolutions transcendental god rapidly exploded in Long Fei's body. The moment the Phoenix King blood entered Long Fei's body, the power of the 8 revolutions transcendental god rapidly exploded in Long Fei's body. It was as if Long Fei's body was injected with a nuclear power. His entire body started to change frantically as he released the myriad soul secret technique continuously. Dragon Kwong controlled the power of the Phoenix King blood, gate of heaven, open, boom. The power of 10,000 souls surged into Long Fei's sea of consciousness. The sea of consciousness was the gate of heaven. The gate of heaven opened wide, surging with power. The scope of the sea of consciousness had been doubled. Middle door, open, buzz. With a muffled sound, the mental gate opened and power surged. The mind transformed as streams of power directly lifted the mental level up. Earth gate, open. Die door, open. The power of 10,000 souls and the power of Phoenix King blood continued to surge as every part of Long Fei's body crazily transformed, with unstoppable momentum. Long Kwong firmly controlled himself. He didn't dare to relax at all. Time passed second by second. 1 minute. 10 minutes. 1 hour. 10 hours. The secret method of 10,000 souls continued for a long time. The Phoenix had just fed Long Fei 10 novels of Phoenix King blood and her face was incomparably pale. Her entire body was also incomparably weak, but she did not stop, because Long Fei seemed to have recovered a little. At least his face was a lot redder. Suddenly, Long Kwong roared, "Gate of life, open, buzz, rumble." With a shake of his power, a stream of power immediately wrapped around Long Fei and covered his entire body. Moreover, Long Fei's body suddenly floated up, giving the Phoenix a shock. Its eyes tensed up. "My honey." The light halo enveloped Long Fei. He floated silently in midair, as if his body had turned into a feather. "Open for me." The dragon crazily roared, "Rumble." The light halo that covered Long Fei's body was suddenly absorbed into his body sunk, and heavily fell to the ground. Huff. Long Kwong also let out a deep breath. Is it done? He didn't know. However, the secret soul technique was finished. Whether he succeeded or not, even Long Kwong was uncertain. After all, he had never used the secret technique of 10,000 souls before, and it was not easy to control the power that could make a person turn around and be reborn. Moreover, he now understood the dangers of the secret arts of the 10,000 souls. If he chose to repeat them, he probably wouldn't choose this method. It was too dangerous. If there was the slightest mistake, Long Fei's life would have been lost. "Master! Master!" Long Kwong shouted out a few words softly, as if he was very careful and didn't dare to be too loud. His heart was slightly trembling. Although Long Fei's body did not explode nor had any adverse reactions, Long Fei did not wake up, nor did he respond. This made him very restless. Was it a success? Or was it a failure? After calling out twice without seeing Long Fei's response, Long Quang's heart tightened. Could it be that he failed? No, absolutely not. The coldness in Long Quang's heart rose. If Long Fei died, then he would be a sinner. He wouldn't even forgive himself if he thought that he had sinned for 1,000,000,000 years. My honey, wake up. Hurry and wake up. I'm begging you, please don't leave me, okay? I'm begging you, please wake up. Phoenix hugged Long Fei and shouted. Long Fei's body did not move and there was no reaction. Long Quang was also completely flustered. Master, please don't scare me, please don't scare me. Can you give me some reaction? Long Fei still did not respond. At this moment, Long Fei entered a very strange state. This state was very strange. It was like the state in which the system was updated. What's wrong with me? Why? Did my body become lighter? Why do I feel an inexhaustible power within my body? The ancient world's gravity has disappeared. Body. Long Fei didn't know what had happened, he only knew that his body had become extremely strange. His strength increased. His speed increased. His defense had become stronger. Everything had become stronger. This did not mean that he would break through to become stronger, but rather that his own attributes would become stronger. If his previous stats had been 10, he would now be at least 50 or higher. This was a bit abnormal. Original attribute point enhancement. It's permanent. What did this mean? Long Fei was a little confused. Really? Just as he was stunned, the system gave him an answer. The system beeped. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for breaking through the 5 revolutions. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 5 revolutions body for obtaining a special reward. Reward item, God Orb. 5 revolutions. I've completed the 5th circulation. I actually went through the 5th circulation. King went through the 5th cycle. Long Fei was completely dumbstruck at this moment. He never thought that he would actually complete 5 cycles. The system had never mentioned about his reincarnation. This sort of situation was quite common in the game. It could be seen from first transition or second transition, depending on the game settings. However, each transition was extremely difficult. He had to reach a certain level, gather a great deal of materials, and a great deal of requirements. Very difficult. Even so, countless players still risked their lives to reincarnate, because after the first transition, all of their stats would be greatly improved. And it was a permanent upgrade. The difference between a first transition and a first transition was like heaven and earth. He would rather not eat and be reincarnated. The first transition was difficult, but the second transition was even more difficult. The further one went, the more difficult it became. And Long Fei had gone through 5 cycles at once. His heart was a little dazed. It was only after confirming over and over again that he realized he was not dreaming. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I've completed 5 rounds, He feels great. Long Fei was extremely excited, as if he had suddenly become a peerless powerhouse. 5 cycles, my body's attributes have increased, then the ancient dragon body's power that I released. CK me. Should I break through level 5? Let's take a look first. Long Fei wanted to give it a try, he wanted to know how strong the power of the 5th cycle was. Open the 3-rate ancient dragon body. Boom. An explosive sound resounded. At the same time, Long Fei was just like a deflated ball, the power of the ancient dragon body was instantly lost. What the hell? Long Fei did not understand, you can't even release the 3-rate dragon body? CK. Wait. Long Fei felt that something was wrong. His consciousness was very clear, but the world he had touched. Why is it in my own mind? My fleshly body. He clenched his fists. I can't feel it. He couldn't feel himself clenching his fists. His body did not move. At this moment, he was like a vegetable, different from a vegetable. His brain was clear, but his body could not sense it. Why is this happening? What exactly is going on? Long Fei's brows tightened, he looked at his own five-turned body, and said, could it be that it's too strong? Power overtook his body, and brought Long Fei into a world of pure consciousness. Power overtook his body, and brought Long Fei into a world of pure consciousness. This was equivalent to him being trapped. He was trapped by his own strength. Long Fei tried several times but to no avail. He was unable to wake up, unable to sense his own body, and unable to sense the people around him. Dragon Kwong! Dragon Kwong! Long Fei shouted a few words. No response. Even Long Kwong couldn't sense it. Long Fei frowned, realizing that the seriousness of the situation had exceeded his expectations. System, how do I get out? The system did not respond. The system could only host it now, it would not give any response. Long Fei said, give me some hints. There was still no response from the system. Damn you. Long Fei cursed and yelled a few more times at the Dragon Kwong, but he still didn't respond. He knew that he was the only one in this world that had a pure consciousness. He was completely isolated from the outside world. Other than the few pure exits from the system, Long Fei was completely unable to sense anything. His physical body? Where is he now? It was as if everything did not exist. It was just like the three-dimensional space, he was in another dimension. Long Fei was stunned. 5 revolutions. Is this the effect of the 5 revolutions? Turn your head. Long Fei was depressed in his heart. When the idea opened the system, other than the newly rewarded God's Orb, there was nothing else in the system space. However, the God Orb was only a God Orb used to protect one's sea of consciousness. It could calm one's mind and prevent Qigong deviation, and was extremely beneficial to cultivation. There was nothing special about it. Increase your cultivation speed by 10%. Divine beads are divine beads, but what's the use of it now? Long Fei laughed bitterly. And also at this time. His eyebrows tightened. Cultivate. Yes. If I were to say that my strength exceeds my body and my consciousness enters a pure world of consciousness, as long as I bring up my level increase, nothing would be a problem. The body will also increase along with the level increase. As long as I can catch up to the body of the 5 cycles, I'll be able to break through this gate of consciousness. Long Fei suddenly realized, that must be it. All right. In that case, let's use the 5 revolving body to cultivate now. With the help of the heavenly jewel, I'm going to fly. After making up his mind, Long Fei instantly entered into a state of cultivation. The idea moved. In my pure consciousness, that refined space should also be here, right? Refined space, open it for me, boom. The refined space appeared and the 8 great gates appeared in front of Long Fei. The corners of Long Fei's mouth curled up as he faintly smiled and said, as expected, he's here. Heh. Then let's begin. He took a step into the sword sect. Boom. Half an hour later, Long Fei opened his eyes and said, it's leveled up. This speed was simply too fast. Without any help from the Holy Source Stone, it took him half an hour to break through. It broke through in an instant. He clenched his fists and tried to sense it. He still couldn't sense the outside world. He couldn't feel his own existence either. Again, Long Fei said heavily, it just so happens that I need to raise my level increase. Continue. Long Fei cultivated quietly. But he was really afraid now. He had already thought of all the ways he could think of, and it just wasn't possible. He was completely unable to sense the existence of Long Fei's consciousness. Master. Oh my God. My job is to help you ascend to the position of Ancient World King, but what have I done? Master, I'm sorry. How can I have the face to meet my brothers like this? Long Kwong suddenly looked like an old man who had just turned into a lamp who had run out of oil. His eyes were lifeless, and his heart felt like it was dead. It was his own doing, his secret technique that harmed Long Fei. Even if he were to die 10,000 times, he wouldn't be able to redeem his sins. The other person was the Phoenix, and she had also collapsed. She hugged Long Fei and sobbed non-stop, my honey, wake up, Please wake up, woo-oo. At this moment. In the yard. When the four brothers heard the cries of the phoenix in the house, they lowered their heads and clenched their fists. Their hearts were filled with incomparable pain. He couldn't say a word. Unwell. It was even worse than death. Long Fei stood up for them, and did not hesitate to cripple his own body. What about them? There was nothing to be done. This feeling was too unbearable. Bailey Tianhai opened his eyes, which revealed a light aura. The spirit qi around his body retracted. Phew. He suppressed the cultivation aura in his body. Big Sword Sect Level 9. Boss training method is too amazing. Bailey Tianhai was completely convinced. For the past 2 days, the speed of his cultivation breakthrough could only be described with one word: it was unstoppable. He felt extremely grateful. Hearing the crying sounds coming from the inside of the room, Bailey Tianhai quickly ran out of the room. Seeing the 4-5 elemental brothers in the courtyard had their heads down, he shouted out, "Who are you guys?" Without enough time to listen to the 4-5 elements brothers' reply, Bailey Tianhai also immediately ran over. "What's wrong?" "Woo woo. Woo woo woo. My honey, he, dead." The phoenix sobbed silently as tears flowed wildly, hugging Long Fei tightly. Bailey Tianhai rushed into the room, looked at Long Fei who was on the ground, and his pupils also tensed up instantly as he pounced towards him like an arrow. Boss, what's wrong? Wake up, boss." At this time, Zhao Dahan also rushed into the other room. Upon seeing Long Fei, he also became extremely nervous. "Big brother, what's wrong?" Bailey Tianhai quickly checked Long Fei's body. "He's still breathing, he's still alive." Phoenix immediately stopped crying. "My honey is still alive." Bailey Tianhai held onto Long Fei's pulse with one hand and said, "His pulse is also beating, he's not dead." Phoenix said, "Really? Then why hasn't he woken up?" Bailey Tianhai said, "About this. On his pulse, he was not injured at all. It was extremely smooth, as though he had fallen asleep. There was no problem at all." Phoenix wiped the tears off her face and said, "I have never been to the academy and have read too little." "Don't lie to me." Bailey Tianhai replied, "How would I lie to you? Boss is really still alive, it's just that he might be in a deep slumber right now. It's good that you're alive. It's good that the my honey is still alive." As long as Long Fei was still alive, she was already satisfied. The corner of her mouth curled up, revealing 2 shallow dimples. She giggled and said, "My honey, I'll wait for you to wake up." As soon as he finished, Phoenix also lost consciousness. She had forcefully endured 10 hours of bloodshed, and now that she had heard the news that Long Fei was still alive, her tense nerves relaxed and she fainted. At this moment, boom. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up, currently at Big Swordsman level 1. Ha ha ha. I've broken through to a higher level, I can open another instance dungeon again. Break through Big Swordsman and obtain a dungeon. Break through Big Swordsman and obtain a dungeon. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Big Swordsman's dungeon, breaking the blue. Do you want to enter? Dungeon, clear blue position, grassland, number of missions, 1 description, to carve out a path of blood in the darkness, to carve out the dawn. Looking at the description of the instance dungeon, Long Fei's heart tightened. Looks like this instance dungeon is also a killing ground. I just don't know if there are demon beast or some other monsters inside. There's no rush. Let me see how many levels I can break through. Long Fei did not enter immediately. Normally, the demon beast in the slaughter instance dungeon would be very strong, so he had to make thousands of preparations. Moreover, he couldn't activate the ancient dragon body now, so he could only rely on his own strength to fight. Huff. Continue to cultivate. Tell me now, how did the boss get injured? Bailey Tianhai walked out of Long Fei's room and went to the courtyard to look at the 4 brothers. King told her what had happened in the valley. Bailey Tianhai's pupils shrank. Assassin? Lin Yuan? Question mark. Many people appeared in Bailey Tianhai's mind. He secretly clenched his fists and said to himself, "Inner court? Wait." Bailey Tianhai said, "You 4 go back first. There's nothing else for you here." Bailey Tianhai wasn't familiar with them, and was unable to confirm that what the four brothers said was true even if what had happened. At this time, he had to maintain his vigilance. For Long Fei's sake, he had to be careful. Jin asked, "How is boss?" Bailey Tianhai said, "I have protected my life, but I do not know when I will wake up. It could be tomorrow, or I might not be able to wake up ever again." He did not hide this matter. Not only did he not hide it, he even said it on purpose. If it really was an assassin, if he didn't kill Long Fei on one occasion, he would come back on the second time. This was what he called luring a snake out of its hole. It's all because we're too weak. We're useless, causing our boss to end up like this. Bailey Tianhai said, "Don't talk about that anymore, you guys are also injured. Go back and take care of your injuries, you don't need to worry about this. Shun, give them all the holy source stones." Zhao Dahan took a step forward, took out all of the several tens of holy source stones on him, and stuffed them into Jin's hands. He immediately forced the 4 5 Elements brothers out of the courtyard. The 4 brothers bowed and left. Zhao Dahan walked to Bailey Tianhai's side and said, "Second brother, what happened in the cave?" Bailey Tianhai glanced at Zhao Dahan and said, "This is also what I want to know. Based on how a few assassins are not my boss opponents, my boss will definitely meet a strong opponent in the Fireball Cave, if not he would not have suffered such heavy injuries. However, we can't do that until our boss wakes up. Right now, all we have to do is spread the news that our boss isn't dead. I want to see who sent the killer." He hoped that the 4 5 Elements brothers would spread the news that Long Fei was still alive. However, what surprised him was that after 3 consecutive days, not a single person within the outer sect discussed whether Long Fei was still alive or not. Furthermore, no one knew that Long Fei was still alive. They all thought he was dead. This surprised Bailey Tianhai. The 4 5 Elemental brothers would never spread the news that Long Fei was still alive. They were doing their best to cultivate. Even if he didn't advance an inch in the course of the day, he was still training with all his might. It seems like the 4 of them can be trusted. "All right, big idiot, the boss is still unconscious. We have to start a fight. We still have 2 more months to earn 900 points. From now on, we are going to take missions to earn points." Since there were no more killers, there would be no more killers for now. They had to risk their lives for points. In order to kill Lin Yuan in the inner sect, he would first need to enter the inner sect. He had to pass the inner sect examination this time. Before that, he had to earn 300 points. Zhao Dahan nodded heavily, and said, "Boss has done so much for us, so we should also do something for boss." The 2 of them walked out of the courtyard and began the crazy quest mode. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, Big Swordsman level, 3. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the 3rd rank Holy Source Pellet. 2 system notifications sounded out. As long as he leveled up in refined space, he would be rewarded by the system every time. This was also the reason why Long Fei gave up on killing people to level up. And then again. Every time he leveled up, he felt that his strength had truly become stronger and that his physical body could endure more. The power of the ancient dragon body was also becoming stronger. Huff. Big Swordsman level 3. Now let me see. Long Fei clenched his fists. Level 1 Eternal Dragon's body, open for me. Boom. The dragon roared. A powerful energy surged out from within his body, and directly exploded out of Long Fei's limbs and bones. Long Fei's eyes flashed with excitement. It did not disappear. Ha ha ha. As expected. As long as I bring my level increase up, I can leave this gate of consciousness. Long Fei grinned. He had begun to use the power of the ancient dragon body and it had directly disappeared, but now it was different. The power of the ancient dragon body had truly not disappeared when he truly controlled it. In other words, level was the key. 2nd level ancient dragon body. Boom. A stronger power was released, but in less than a second, all of the power of the ancient dragon body in Long Fei's body disappeared. Level is not enough. Then come again. Continue to cultivate. The inner sect, the back mountain. Lin Yuan laughed complacently with his hands behind his back, Fighting with me, ha ha. Was he even worthy of being a tramp like that? Ha ha ha. Well done. This is your reward. A money bag appeared in Lin Yuan's hand, and he casually threw it. The disciple looked at the money bag in midair and a ray of light flashed across his eyes. When he extended his hand to take it, Lin Yuan's figure flashed. A white light flashed. Hua! The disciple's body was split into two, his eyes protruding out, staring straight at Lin Yuan. The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth lifted, and said, "Is my money that easy to take?" Crack! His body collapsed into a pool of blood. Lin Yuan took out a small bottle, and poured the powder from the small bottle on the corpse. The corpse quickly evaporated and turned into a pile of black powder. Lin Yuan smiled. "This corpse transformation powder is really good." God's sword child walked over and asked doubtfully, "That brat isn't easy to deal with. How many assassins can he rely on to deal with him?" Lin Yuan said, "Brother Tian Jian doesn't believe me." At this moment, woo! A horn sounded in the distance. Lin Yuan frowned. Something big has happened. The sound of the horn was rarely heard in ancient antiquity. The sound of the horn was rarely heard in ancient antiquity. Once it rang out, something major happened. Whether it was the outer or the inner sect, they were all enveloped in the sound of the horn. The entire ancient antiquity was shocked. What happened? Horn? What happened? Foreign enemies invading? Still some good news. Many people did not know this because it was too sudden and they did not have any preparations. Main Hall Peak, ancient Great Hall. An old man covered in blood was lying on the ground. The sect leader of the Horcrux's gate, Dong Qiankue. Right now, he was on the verge of death. His eyes were trembling, and his fists were tightly clenched. No one expected Dong Qiankue to still be alive. Fang Wamping allowed him to fend for himself. However, he never thought that Dong Qiankue would actually be able to survive. Furthermore, he had even survived by jumping into the magma. At this moment, he was on the verge of death. His whole body was covered with wounds, and he had no idea what had happened to him. For the peak master of the ancient antiquity to be heavily injured to such a degree, this was indeed a great matter to the ancient antiquity. If so, this was the powerhouse doing something to Dong Qiankue outside. That meant declaring war. This was also why he was blowing the horn. The great elder walked out from the back hall, looked at the many elders and peak owner and said, "The sect master is in closed-door cultivation. Pavilion Master Dan, how are the Horcrux's gate lord's injuries now?" The Pill Pavilion's peak owner walked out and said, "I just checked carefully and I can save my life, but I'm afraid his cultivation is." Speaking of cultivation, Dong Qiankue struggled violently, his eyes bulging, as though he wanted to jump. The great clan elder walked to Dong Qiankue's side and pressed down gently with his right hand, allowing Dong Qiankue to quickly quieten down. "Horcrux's gate lord, don't be angry yet. It's not good for your body to be angry." The great elder looked at Pavilion Master Dan and asked, "Can you make him speak? I want to know what happened." The Horcrux's gate lord was also a powerhouse of the King Swordsman rank. To be able to injure him to such an extent, his opponent definitely wasn't simple. Moreover, his character is very high profile, and before his opponent injures him, they ought to know that he is the Horcrux's Gate Hill's lord. The peak owner of the Pill Pavilion took out a pellet and placed it into Dong Qiankue's mouth. Using his palm to catalyze it, he reminded Dong Qiankue, "Senior brother Dong, do not be agitated." Buzz. The effects of the pill had been completely dissolved. Dong Qiankue was also very clear about his current situation. After calming down for a bit, he said with some difficulty, "Fang Wamping, it's him. It's him." The great clan elder's gaze tensed up. "Fang Wamping? Isn't this man the clan elder of our ancient antiquity? Did you get injured like this by him?" All the elders in the hall tensed up. His cultivation should not be as good as the Horcrux's Gate Hill's masters, right? Fang Wamping is an easygoing person and normally would not make a move on others. Why would he make a move on senior brother Dong? Senior brother Dong's cultivation is higher than his. Even if we fight, We are not his match, how could he be injured like this? Hearing the discussions in the surroundings, Dong Qiankue couldn't suppress the anger in his heart and said, "He's a despicable person, sneak attacking me. Grand Elder, you must kill him. He colluded with the sects in the outside world, and there's even a disciple he planted in the outer sect. He travels all over the place, he has not been a member of the ancient antiquity for a long time." This time, when he encountered a second-grade fire essence, his ugly face was exposed. It was him, it was him. Cough cough. Blood came out of his mouth. He had made up his mind on the way back. This was the only way for him to defend himself. To ensure his identity. Moreover, he was the Horcrux's Gate Hill Lord, and his words carried more weight than Fang Wanpeng's. As soon as he finished, everyone immediately felt relieved. A sneak attack. No wonder, Fang Wanpeng is really something. He's actually using such a despicable method. I've long seen what bad stuff he is. He has been out all year round. Who knows who he is in contact with? Great Elder, we must give the Horcrux's Gate Lord an explanation for this matter. That's right, as the Horcrux's Gate's master, he actually sent his own men to ambush and hurt him. How big of an injury is this to the ancient antiquity? We can't let him off that easily. Although he was heavily injured right now, he wanted more people to speak up for Dong Qiankue than Fang Wanpeng. The great clan elder frowned, and shouted, "Send my order, capture Fang Wanpeng. If you dare to resist, kill him." A response came from outside the door, "Yes." Immediately following that, a golden light flashed. Following that, 100 golden lights moved. This was the strongest elite of the main hall, every single one of them was at the high stage of the King's Swordsman. They had moved, and with 100 of them at once, Fang Wanpeng had no way of escaping. One had to know that these golden armor bodyguard had never failed once. "Thank you, Grand Elder, for upholding justice for me. Thank you." Dong Qiankue's expression, which seemed to be filled with tears, caused all the elders present to feel sympathy for him. The head elder said indifferently, "Don't worry, this is what I should do. I will definitely give you an explanation." "Right. You said earlier that Fang Wanpeng had installed a disciple in the outer sect. What's his name?" If they actually wanted to make a move on Fang Wanpeng, then they would have to capture his people as well. Dong Qiankue shook his head, "I don't know his name, I only know that he is an outer sect disciple." "Great clan elder, I will take care of that brat, I have already sworn that I will personally kill him." His mind was imprinted with Long Fei's appearance. In any case, he also wanted to kill Long Fei. He had to obtain the second-grade fire essence from Long Fei, as all of the fire essence in his body was used up in the lava. If he could obtain Long Fei's second-grade fire essence, he might be able to recover his full strength. Thus, he had to personally deal with Long Fei. The head elder said indifferently, "Since that's the case, I'll leave it to you. Someone, come. Hand over the myriad spirit protecting pill." The great elder said softly. The elders were stunned. The myriad spirit protecting pill was the #1 pill in ancient antiquity, and it was extremely rare. As long as it did not die, this myriad spirit protecting pill would be able to bring it back to life. Dong Qiankue was also shocked. He wanted to stand up, but was stopped by the great clan elder. Thank you, great elder. Thank you." Tears streamed down his face, but his heart was incomparably vicious. "Kid, just you wait. Once I recover 2 levels of strength, I'll be able to kill you." Rumble. 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 Waves of explosions could be heard as dawn broke in the east. A ray of light appeared in the darkness. Long Fei stood at the top of the mountain with his broadsword in hand, looking at the beasts' corpses all over the ground, then looking at the white light in the east, sky-splitting heaven. "Ha ha ha. I passed the instance dungeon. System beep. Ding. 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 Congratulations to player Long Fei for passing the Breaking the Azure instance dungeon. The reward is a special system reward. The reward is Divine Lightning. Divine Lightning? What is this? Long Fei opened the system to see that there was a completely Shuanar by-colored dagger floating above the system interface. The dagger was 6 inches long. The handle was barely enough to hold one hand, and with a dagger, it pierced through Shuanar by like a bolt of lightning. The dagger was wrapped in a shallow divine light. It was not a symbol of a certain rank, but a type of power. Long Fei was stunned at first glance. This dagger. This is the first time I've seen such an exquisite dagger. He grabbed it with one hand. He took it out from the space ring. Buzz. With a hum, the divine light on the dagger wrapped around Long Fei and wildly wreaked havoc. Long Fei's eyes narrowed, F***CK. His arm couldn't stop trembling. The immense power caused his mind and consciousness to tremble violently. So powerful. When Long Fei looked at the divine lightning, he felt that he was not holding a dagger, but instead holding onto a thunder god. The dagger was the emperor of the short soldiers. The holy artifact south that fought in close quarters. Moreover, it could be hidden or hidden. Be it assassination or fighting, it was the strongest existence. The key point was that the power of the god thunder was far more than this. One-hit kill, this attribute. Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he said excitedly, I only need one strike to be able to instantly kill, ha ha ha. The system's rewards for instance dungeons are really too awesome. This is what you call a golden thumb, that's more like it. Was extremely excited about the rewards of each instance dungeon, which greatly exceeded his expectations. This made him want to cultivate in refined space even more. Although killing was a great way to level up, it was not as fast and satisfying as this feeling. Continue. Long Fei withdrew his divine lightning and continued his cultivation. Time passed day by day. Phoenix stayed by Long Fei's side every day, not even taking a single step away. My honey, you will definitely recover. I'll wait for you. Phoenix held Long Fei's hand and placed it on her own cheek, as if Long Fei was touching her little face. She gently rubbed at Long Fei's hand, her eyes red as she looked at Long Fei. Her heart was in pain. Half a month had passed and Long Fei still did not show any signs of waking up. Phoenix did not know what to do. She didn't know what else to do. There were many times when she wanted to go back to the Phoenix Valley to seek help, regardless of everything else. However, every time when she did that, she was worried that Long Fei would wake up after she left. You'll definitely wake up. I'll definitely wait for you, Phoenix muttered. Other than her anxiety, the same goes for the dragon Kwong. He tried countless of methods, but none of them were able to break open Long Fei's gate of consciousness. He was completely out of the way. There was nothing he could do but wait, day after day. This was very painful for a dragon. If not for the fact that he used the Myriad Soul's secret technique, Long Fei would have recovered long ago. It's all my fault. How am I supposed to meet my brothers in the future? The dragon was in pain. Outer Sect, Task Palace. Ding dong. The quest page refreshed. The mission ranked 5th on the difficulty level suddenly changed to the completed state. The entire hall was filled with shock. The Swamp Abyss quest has been completed. This is the 5th difficulty Outer Sect mission. Even the top 10 experts of the Outer Sect might not be able to complete it. Who is this person? Needless to say, he is definitely the first powerhouse of the Outer Sect, Yi Tianqing. Why did I hear that Yi Tianqing is in closed-door cultivation? Moreover, he doesn't need to do any more missions. He has the highest points in the outer court and he doesn't need to do any more missions for the inner court disciple exam. Who could it be? The Task Palace continued to discuss. While they were discussing, Bailey Tianhai had already walked out of the Task Palace with another mission scroll in his hand. Nether Passage City. Outside the Task Palace, when Zhao Dahan saw Bailey Tianhai, he immediately walked over and said, "Second brother, did you accept the mission?" Bailey Tianhai nodded his head and said, "The task for the 4th auction, task reward 150 points, plus 3 third-grade spirit pellets." Zhao Dahan said, "Can a grade 3 spirit pill save Big Brother?" Bailey Tianhai shook his head and said, "I don't know." Zhao Dahan said, "Definitely, tier 3 pills can definitely wake Big Brother up." Bailey Tianhai said, "I hope so." What he was worried about now was not whether Long Fei could wake up, but whether or not he could wake up. What he was worried about right now was task credit. In an entire half a month, Their task credit was only 200, and not even a single person had enough points to participate in the inner sect examination. And this was in addition to the 500 points mission he had just completed. After deducting this mission, they only managed to get less than 100 points in half a month. How could they afford to get such a high score before the inner sect examination? It was very difficult. The first mission of the Task Palace appeared in Bailey Tianhai's mind, which was also the third of the mission that Long Fei completed last time. After passing through the South Heaven Gate, the second mission was to seize the Heavenly Court. This task had a total of 900 points. As long as they completed it, all 3 of their points would be enough. However, ever since Long Fei had completed this mission, countless of outer sect disciples had accepted this mission. There were even some inner sect experts who had accepted the mission. The number of people who went was great, but the number of people who came back were few. The mission was actually incomparably terrifying, and it was said to be an impossible mission. In the end, if there's really no other way, then Bailey Tianhai clenched his fists tightly and made up his mind. Then, he said to Zhao Dehan, "Darling, let's go. We're going to Ethereal Opening City, in the inner sect. Horcrux's Gate Hill." Boom, boom, boom. In a secret room of Lord Flame, Dong Tiankue sat cross-legged on a chair, surrounded by 8 elders of the Horcrux's Gate Hill. They all had one thing in common: they were all fire energy users. Moreover, all of them had cultivated a grade 1 fire essence. At this time, they summoned their own fire essence, and continuously released fire essence qi, which Dong Tiankue slowly absorbed into his body. His cultivation base was also slowly recovering along with the fire element qi. However, his recovery was extremely slow, and his cultivation was constantly at a bottleneck. If it wasn't for all sorts of resources for him to use, not to mention recovering his cultivation, he wouldn't even be able to recover from the injuries within his body. Boom! A loud boom echoed out. Dong Tiankue's eyes suddenly opened, revealing a glimmer in his eyes. He slightly suppressed his aura. Phew! The Master Swordsman rank is here. Many thanks for your help, junior brothers. Dong Tiankue cupped his fists slightly. The 8 elders cupped their fists. Senior brother is too polite, this is something we should do. Dong Tiankue did not become a cripple just because he was ignored, excluded, and lost in status. On the contrary, he was treated like a hero in the ancient antiquity. He didn't even think of this. Dong Tiankue's heart turned gloomy and cold, and the image of Long Fei appeared in his mind, and he said, "Brat, just you wait." Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, more than a month passed. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, more than a month passed. There was only half a month left before the inner sect examination. Outer sect, Task Palace. Boom. The 3rd difficulty mission has been completed again. That's 200 points, wow. Who is this guy? Is he the one who completed the 4th or 5th position? Damn, isn't this guy crazy? This is going to sweep away all the missions. I don't think it is enough to sweep through the first mission. Of all the people who came back alive, very few were able to complete the first mission. All of them lost their will to cultivate and break through. They're just like trash. I heard that the first mission is too dangerous. Some elders have already suggested to cancel this mission. Over this month, hundreds of disciples have died in this mission. I heard that too. Those disciples who came back seemed to have seen a ghost when they talked about this mission. How terrifying is it inside? When Bailey Tianhai heard this, his heart tightened. Just now, when he checked his task credit, there were only 500 points. To obtain 400 points in such a short period of time. Impossible. Aside from the first mission, which had a high reward from task credit, none of the other missions had a reward of 400 points. Moreover, these missions required a large amount of time to complete, and were not something that could be accomplished by just killing a few demon beasts and passing a few tests. This was also Bailey Tianhai's forebrain genius. He had already created history. In less than 2 months' time, he had earned more than 500 points. Not a single person on the top 10 rankings had achieved such a feat. Boom. The task page rumbled. All the disciples in the hall instantly quietened down, because the more they thought about it, the bigger the mission became. The second mission. The holy source flower has been found. This. How is that possible? Isn't the holy source flower only in the evil valley of the holy source? Isn't that a place where humans can enter? Where is the path to hell? There were corpses everywhere, yet someone had gone there and even came out alive. This task hasn't been completed in 9 years. Moreover, this mission. It's unique and unique. The hall was in an uproar once again. Bailey Tianhai was also shocked. His gaze swept across, wanting to know who completed the mission, but at the same time, his heart tightened as he looked at the mission scroll in his hands. He had just accepted the mission of the holy source flower, but this mission was unique. If others had completed it, that would mean that this mission no longer existed. There was no reward for the quest, so even if he completed it, it would be useless. He had originally planned to complete the mission called the Holy Source Flower within 10 days, and then use a few small missions to raise the remaining points. However, from the looks of it, I can't take it anymore. At this moment, a tall woman stepped out of the crowd. It was 2 meters tall and wore a thick braid. The braid reached its thigh and swayed from side to side. His long legs were like ivory chopsticks. His chest was exploding. His eyes were cold. Walking amongst the crowd, he stood out like a crane amongst a flock of chickens. Moreover, wherever she went, the men quickly made way for her. It was she who completed the mission for the holy source flower. She. Who is it? How come I have never seen it before? I have not seen them either, but I heard from the elder that they are disciples who were specially recruited this time. It seems to be people with 2 blood veins, double blood vein. The first stage is for humans. I don't know about the other stage, but someone who can complete the mission of the holy source flower on their own is definitely not simple. He should be the hot topic for this year's inner court disciple test. That may not be so. Everyone knows how difficult the inner court disciple exam is. In the past 10 years, the number of people that can pass the exam and enter the inner court is only a handful. Bailey Tianhai also looked at the tall woman, and his gaze tightened. There is someone's aura on her, and it's also the aura of a beast. Are they human blood vein and beast blood vein? The aura on her body is too special. This woman is very dangerous. Bailey Tianhai quickly made his judgment. At this time, a foppish and extravagantly dressed disciple brought a group of lackeys over and said, "Junior sister, can we be friends? My name is Nangong Bu Xing. If you need points, I can." Not waiting for him to finish, the woman coldly said one word, "Scram." One of the lackeys standing behind Nangong Bu said fiercely, "It is your honor that my young master has taken a liking to you, don't give me face." Pa. The little minion Luo Feng fell to the ground with a thud. His neck twisted. Blood spewed out of his mouth. He was dead. Killing people in the task palace? The surrounding people's expressions all changed. Before anyone could react, the woman coldly said, "Scram." Nangong Bu swallowed hard, his eyes fixed on the woman. He said in a deep voice, "You dare to kill." Pa. Another sound. Bam. It was the same for Nangong Bu. Her neck rotated at 360 degrees and blood spurted out from her mouth. She fell to the ground lifelessly. He was one of the top outer sect disciples. Although he was not as strong as the top 10 experts, he was still in the master swordsman rank, and with a single move, he was killed. This is a bit abnormal. At this time, an elder in the room of the task palace spoke out, "You dare to kill people in the task palace, aren't you looking down on the laws of the ancient antiquity too much?" Someone. An elder pulled her back, "Brother Chen, you shouldn't care about this woman." Huh? Why? Is it just because her cultivation is a bit stronger? Elder Chen was not convinced. Another elder laughed, "She is not just a bit stronger, she is much stronger, and this is what the higher-ups meant. Do you think she needs to come to this outer sect with her cultivation?" Elder Chen was startled. He thought for a moment and asked, "People from the inner sect? Another elder laughed. Not only that, you won't be able to touch her anyway, and your identity won't be able to. I'm doing this for your own good. If you are an iron, then you can go. Elder Chen shook his head repeatedly. Thank you for your reminder, senior brother. I will definitely remember this favor. Someone from the inner sect, how could he, a outer door presbyter, dare to offend him? Even 10 lives weren't enough. When the woman left the great hall, no one came out to capture her, and no one dared to stop her anymore. Bailey Tianhai turned his head to look at the mission page. The second mission has been completed, and it's hard to complete now. Looking at the first mission, the heaven-stealing court, Bailey Tianhai let out a light breath and walked towards the mission window. He had no other choice. To gather all 900 points, this quest was his only chance. There was only half a month left, and he could only risk his life. Bailey Tianhai brought Zhao Dehan back to his residence. Bailey Tianhai brought Zhao Dehan back to his residence. There were 2 people squatting at the door. In the Brothers of 5 Elements, there were also 2 people who stood on fire and gold at the back of the courtyard. These 4 had been keeping watch here for the past few days. Bailey Tianhai told them to leave, but they did not, and stayed put, giving up their cultivation time and completing their missions. They just want to stay here. Even if they couldn't do anything, they would be more at ease here. Even if something happened, they would be the first to go up and fight for their lives. Seeing Bailey Tianhai walking over, Mu stepped forward and slightly bowed. Bailey Tianhai nodded and smiled in return. He walked into the courtyard and sighed. Zhao Dehan said, "Second brother, the 4 of them always guarding here is not a good thing. Their cultivation levels were not good in the first place, to spend so much time guarding here, this is too." Bailey Tianhai said, "If they are willing to guard, then let them guard." He didn't want to say anything more. Everyone has their own perseverance. Brothers of 5 Elements was one of them. Maybe. They blamed themselves for long phase coma. They stayed here in order to do their best. They entered the room. Zhao Dehan closed the door. Bailey Tianhai walked to the front of Long Fei's bed and looked at the exhausted phoenix. His heart ached as he said, "Bing Bing, you should go and rest first." For such a long time, the phoenix kept watch beside Long Fei's bed, not leaving even half a step. She was very haggard. His face was a little pale, his lips were dry, and his eyes were dry and dry. He did not seem to be in the least bit energetic. Even if her physique was extraordinary, she was still just a child. After such a long period of suffering, even a god wouldn't be able to withstand it. Phoenix shook her head and said, I'm fine. I'm going to stay here and wait for my honey to wake up." Bailey Tianhai felt his heart ache again as he looked at Long Fei and muttered, "Boss, did you hear that? This silly girl has been waiting for you. How many days has it been?" Long Fei's expression was calm, and there was no response. As Zhao Dehan watched from the side, his tears couldn't help but fall as well. There was a moment of silence. Bailey Tianhai said indifferently, "I've already found some information about what happened in the Fire Bull Valley during this period. After combining it with the information that the inner sect had received from the outer sect during this period of time, I roughly know who injured the boss." Phoenix's pupils suddenly constricted as a cold light flashed through them. The aura emanating from her body abruptly changed as well, causing the temperature of the entire room to rise explosively. In an instant. It was as if the entire room was on fire. Phoenix's eyes turned as she stared at Bailey Tianhai and asked, "Who is it?" Bailey Tianhai stared blankly and subconsciously retreated half a step, not daring to look Phoenix in the eye. It was as if his sea of consciousness was ignited in an instant, which was extremely uncomfortable. He had never seen the look in Phoenix's eyes before. Too terrifying. Zhao Dehan also broke out in cold sweat, and did not dare to breathe. Bailey Tianhai said with some difficulty, "Yes, Elder of Inner House, your status is not low. Did you find out his name and address?" Phoenix coldly said. Bailey Tianhai shook his head and said, "Not yet. They were only outer sect disciples, and were unable to enter the inner sect. It was extremely difficult for them to find out about the inner sect disciples, and it was also because of Bailey Tianhai's quick and agile brain. Phoenix's aura slightly shrank, and her gaze shifted to Long Fei. She instantly changed into a different person, and with watery eyes, she said softly, "My honey, I will make him pay with his life." Huff. Bailey Tianhai gasped for breath heavily, his back was completely drenched. He knew that the phoenix was not ordinary. However, he never thought that the phoenix would be so terrifying that he would be unable to withstand its aura alone. Moreover, he could tell that the phoenix did not use its full strength. Zhao Dahan panted like a cow as he looked at the phoenix with both eyes, his heart feeling cold. After Bailey Tianhai regained his composure, he said, "I'm investigating them, and they're also inspecting Big Brother as well. I estimate that it won't be long before they find out about this place." Phoenix indifferently said, "It would be best if we could find this place." His voice was calm, but Bailey Tianhai could hear the killing intent in his voice, that kind of killing intent. If they came, they would die. Bailey Tianhai's mind trembled, and said, "Big Sis and I are going to do one last mission, and you must take good care of yourself at home during this period of time. You must be careful." Phoenix nodded her head and said, "I will. You guys be careful too." After she finished speaking, the phoenix stopped talking, held Long Fei's hand, and said affectionately, "My honey, hurry up and wake up." Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dahan then left the room. The moment they arrived at the courtyard, both of them lost their footing and almost stepped down. Zhao Dahan sat on the stairs and said, "Second brother, she. Even his voice was trembling, thinking back to the moment when he was suppressed by the phoenix's aura. Zhao Dahan's heart had been trembling. Bailey Tianhai shook his head, signaling for Zhao Dahan to stop. The identity of the phoenix was extremely special. Even the aura of the King Swordsman rank's powerhouse could not cause them to feel such fear. This kind of person was definitely not from the mortal world. When Bailey Tianhai thought about divine space, his mind tensed up. This was only his speculation, but he could not say it aloud. This matter was related to the phoenix, and similarly, it was related to Long Fei. Huff. Bailey Tianhai exhaled heavily, and said, "Boss is definitely not simple, he might also be one of the reincarnation powerhouses who came down to train." Zhao Dahan muttered, "Where is above? Is it the sky?" He looked up at the sky. Bailey Tianhai said, "Don't think too much about it, having a boss like him is the luckiest thing in our lives. Alright, we're going on a mission." If Bailey Tianhai was still worried at the beginning, then he was not worried at all now. The phoenix's terrifying strength could be said to be unapproachable for ordinary people. It was even more impossible to harm Long Fei. The phoenix could give its all for Long Fei. She was fine, but if she wanted to hurt Long Fei, then she couldn't. Just like Long Fei. Boom. Boom. Horcrux's gate, the Inferno chamber. Dong Tiankue exhaled a heavy breath, his aura was like flames, and his body was ignited with a scarlet-colored flame. With a flip of his right hand, a scarlet-red fire essence slowly rose into the air. The power in his body surged, causing the entire room to turn red from the light. Heh. Fang Wanpeng, you absolutely did not think of this, right? Dong Tiankue laughed sinisterly. At the same time, his eyebrows twisted. The immortal swordsman rank was his limit. If he wanted to recover back to the king swordsman rank, then he must first obtain the highest grade fire soul on Long Fei's body. It was also at this time. A voice came from outside the secret room, "Master, the outer disciple you're looking for has been found." Boom. Boom. 3-rate dragon body, open, / roar. With the sound of dawn and the furious roar of a dragon, the aura around Long Fei's entire body underwent a drastic change. This kind of feeling was as if a real dragon was in his body. 5 cycles body, the power of the ancient dragon body, this power. It was a little outrageous. The power of the dragon has not disappeared. Ha. It seems like after I break through a whole realm, I'll be able to break through a layer of the dragon's body. Long Fei was now in the Big Sword Sect's realm. In just a month's time, he had risen to 7 levels consecutively. It didn't seem like much, but if placed on other martial artists, this sort of speed was already heaven-defying. It was something he didn't even dare to imagine. Long Fei carefully observed the consumption of the ancient dragon body's energy, and at the same time, paid attention to the changes in his body. 1 minute passed, 10 minutes passed. Half an hour passed. He was not affected in the slightest. Normally, the 3-rate dragon body would cause a backlash on his body, causing severe pain. However, there wasn't the slightest reaction for the entire half an hour. Can my body withstand the power of the 3-rate dragon body now? Ha ha ha. There's no need to worry about it now. Fuck. Long Fei let out a heavy sigh as excitement filled his heart. The power of the 3-rate dragon body was very strong, but it could not sustain for long. If he had the time now, the power would counterattack and seriously injure his body. Not now. His body was already able to completely adapt to the 3-rate dragon body. It's good to have a high level. Long Fei sighed. Let's see if I can walk out of the door of consciousness now. He was still locked inside the gate of consciousness, and his consciousness was unable to leave. He did not know what was happening outside, especially Phoenix. She was the one he was most worried about. Phoenix was very simple. It was very easy to act impulsively if she knew who had injured him. She would really throw caution to the wind. Once his identity was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. After walking out of the refined space, Long Fei was still in a world of nothingness. The idea moved, and the powerful strength in its body suddenly exploded. Break for me. Rumble. An explosive sound echoed as the power behind the blow was released. However, the gate of consciousness didn't open. Long Fei frowned. 3-rate dragon body, open for me. Buzz. As the dragon roared, the power of Long Fei's body underwent a tremendous change. 5 revolutions physique. Boom. The combination of these two powers made him even more ferocious. Break for me. The power was like a missile, striking the door of consciousness and causing it to vibrate, but he had no intention of opening it. Is my strength still not enough? Long Fei tensed up. Level 4 dragon body, go to hell. He forcefully released his power. The level 4 dragon body had never been activated before, but Long Fei wanted to give it a try right now. However, after releasing the power of the level 4 dragon body, Long Fei's body suddenly sank, as if 10 million kilograms of weight was pressing down on his body. At this moment, voila! Like a punctured balloon, the strength in his body disappeared in an instant. Huff, huff. Hoo. Level is still not enough. Long Fei clenched both his fists tightly, and then turned around and stepped into the refined space again. Continue. This time, I'm going to try a different tactic. 1st grade dragon body, open. He immediately used the power of the ancient dragon body to cultivate. Not only did he train himself, he also trained with the power of the ancient dragon body. Come. Long Fei replied heavily as he entered into his cultivation state. Inner court. Horcrux's Gate Hill. Dong Tiankui's residence. A disciple followed behind him and reported in detail. According to what you said, we checked all outer sect disciples once. The target has already been confirmed, it's just that. The corner of Dong Tiankui's mouth lifted slightly, and said, just what? The disciple replied, it's just that after he returned from Fireball Valley, he was unconscious like a vegetable. Huh? Dong Tiankui was startled. Plant man? Although Long Fei was heavily injured when he left, he would not become a vegetable. The disciple quickly said, after leaving the Fireball Cave, he still encountered the killer's chase. Although the killer died, he was also heavily injured and hasn't woken up for almost 2 months. The killer's identity has been verified. It was ordered by the inner sect Beast Hills Lin Yuan. This guy's name is Long Fei. During the inner sect selection, his blood vein was a trash blood vein. There are 2 other people with him. One is Bailey Tianhai, the other is Zhao Dahan. They are from Sea City, and that person called Bailey Tianhai is from Forebrain Genius. However, he offended the elders from Sword Elf Mountain during the selection, and Zhao Dahan is a huge fool. Other than the 2 of them, there's also a little girl by Long Fei's side. This girl doesn't have much strength, other than that she can eat, there's nothing else. After Long Fei was heavily injured in Fireball Valley, he was sent back by the 4 disciples Jin, Mu, Hua, and 2. He begged all the elders in the outer sect, and without any of them helping him, I think that the brat probably won't be able to wake up. The disciple said at a moderate pace. It could be said. Investigate everything about Long Fei. Dong Tiankue muttered to himself. You, a mere outer court disciple, actually dares to fight against me. What is your identity? The disciple thought Dong Tiankue was asking him, so he lowered his head and said, he was brought here by an outer sect messenger surnamed Yang. He doesn't have any background, and even the ancient antiquities don't have elders that he knows. However, there's one thing worth mentioning. He went to the South Heaven Gate with Liu Luoshi from the inner sect Sword Elf Mountain and also completed the mission for the South Heaven Gate. Dong Tiankue smirked and said, just him, an outer disciple? He can complete the mission? Humph. It's impossible. Just as they were talking, Dong Tiankue's body suddenly trembled. His pupils rapidly dilated as he abruptly sucked in a cold breath of air. Hiss. His thigh was in so much pain that he could barely stand. His cultivation had recovered quite a bit recently, but the hidden ailment on his thigh became even more severe. If he did not obtain that highest grade fire soul, his cultivation would probably be. Thinking of this, a cold intent burst out of Dong Tiankue's eyes. He said indifferently, go and call the third elder over. The disciple respectfully replied, yes. Not long later, a middle-aged man walked into the courtyard. He crossed his arms and greeted, sect leader. Dong Tiankue said, all three, I need you to help me with something. The man was startled and immediately stepped forward. Elder brother, go ahead. Both of their identities were not ordinary. Moreover, some things that couldn't be exposed to the light were done by all three. Dong Tiankue said, I want you to make a trip to the outer sect. Help me capture a person, a vegetable. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.